Blog Talk Radio.
President recognizes Mr. Adams of Massachusetts.
Objects of the most stupendous magnitude. Measures which will affect the lives of millions, born and unborn, are now before us. We must expect a great expense of blood to obtain them. But we must always remember that a free constitution of civil government cannot be purchased at too dear a rate, as there is nothing on this side of Jerusalem of greater importance to mankind. My worthy colleague from Pennsylvania has spoken with great ingenuity and eloquence. He has given you a grim prognostication of our national future, but where he foresees apocalypse, I see hope. I see a new nation ready to take its place in the world. Not an empire, but a republic. And a republic of laws, not men. Gentlemen, we are in the very midst of revolution. The most complete, unexpected, and remarkable of any in the history of the world. How few of the human race have ever had an opportunity of choosing a system of government for themselves and their children. I am not without apprehensions, gentlemen. But the end we have in sight is more than worth all the means. I believe, sirs, that the hour has come. My judgment approves this measure, and my whole heart is in it. All that I have, all that I am, and all that I hope in this life, I am.
He's the T-Rex of political talk. Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.
Chuck Norris joining us in the next hour to talk about the global government takeover taking place right now in Copenhagen, Denmark. The takeover of healthcare, so we're all beholden to the government, making us dependent on them. That's happening as well right now. They're breaking it all down with Chuck Norris. You know, I forgot he was good friends with Steve McQueen. I'm a Steve McQueen fan. Maybe I'll ask him to tell us a Bruce Lee or Steve McQueen story. Chuck Norris scheduled to be joining us in the second hour today. And then we do have Christopher Horner joining us, a senior fellow at the CEI, Competitive Enterprise Institute. He's exposing what's happening over in Copenhagen. He wrote Red Hot Lies, How Global Warming Alarmists Use Threats, Fraud, and Deception to Keep You Misinformed. And then we also have Dr. Niles Axel Morner joining us. He's over in Copenhagen, breaking down the fraud taking place as we continue to track one of the most important conferences in modern history. Well, the UN says it's the most important, and I agree with them. If they're able to ram this through, this is open establishment of total private, unelected banking government. I mean, we are actual profit of private bankers, pretty much already. By the way, I have a RAND Corporation report here in front of me. I saw this on the LRC blog by William Gregg, and I actually read most of the 190-something page PDF this weekend, and it was very painful to read. It just confirms everything we already knew. But the police are already being totally federalized. the U.S. Army is going to operate through the Pentagon a domestic military force called the, let me just read to you the actual, a stability police force for the United States, justification and options for creating U.S. capabilities. And it says that a Pentagon-run police force will run all the local police departments. Actually says it. Now, again, they propose it years after it's already in place. That's why they're putting Pentagon liaisons in all the departments and CIA liaisons in the threat fusion centers. I mean, this is so illegal, so dangerous, so un-American. This isn't a red flag. This is a red volcano erupting. I mean, this is run for the hills bad. This is worse than North Korea, worse than Mexico, worse than Communist China. I mean, this is complete federal death squads. And they state it's for the U.S. collapsing. See, the bankers are going to collapse everything. And a lot of people are only going to serve the government with that much more glee. A lot of people, as the tyranny intensifies through cowardice, will actually serve it and vitriolically praise it and convince themselves that they like it and that it's good, while even at a conscious level knowing they're just cowards and they're scared to death of it. Very few times in my life have I experienced just the edge of that psychological phenomenon and then recoiled from it from my very core of being a sentient human being. But that's what George Orwell talks about with Crime Stop and Doublethink in 1984. How people instantly see corruption, instantly see oppression, instantly see hypocrisy and tyranny and degradation, and then just spin it in their own minds that it's a good thing so they can feel like they're part of the system and have power over it. Because deep down they are so deathly afraid of it. They think by laughing and smiling and giggling and having kind of an arrogant, haughty attitude that it gives them control over it. Just know this, everything being set up by private Fortune 100 corporations, everything being set up by our criminal, illegitimate government, everything being set up by the UN, everything being pushed is a unified global agenda on record that is a 180 degrees the opposite of not just our Bill of Rights, Constitution, Declaration of Independence, but the Magna Carta, the Geneva Convention, the Ten Commandments. I mean, any moral yardstick by any angle, whether it be sociological, psychological, from the angle of anthropology. If we were a civilization 100 years in the future, looking back on this time, it would clearly be stated this was a time of just absolute propaganda, mass drugging of the public, brainwashing, and tyranny. Going on in front of everyone, just outrageous crimes that the illegitimate global government practices and sets precedents to do whatever they want, whenever they want, however they want, with the media culture marinating the public mind in torture and abuse and slavery and degradation and humiliation and tyranny, and packaging it in a sicky sweet envelope of we're the good guys, we're the good people, we're saving the world. And it's only going to get worse. I mean, we have just begun the plunge. We just went off the cliff. When you hit the bottom, when all of us hit the bottom, in the years to come, when we bounce on those rocks at the bottom, it is not going to look good. It is not going to feel good. Okay, right now we're just falling off the side. And a few of us got our bloody fingernails into the sides, sliding down, just hopefully trying to find some purchase, hoping to find some place to grab hold. And spiritually obese and decadent people are hanging off of our legs, pulling on us, screaming, let go, you're keeping us from heaven. And so don't worry, they're going to get what they want. We're going to hit bottom. And they're so brainwashed, so drugged out, so stupid, so cowardly. They've been brought through successive programs of intensifying corruption, accepting lies, that now they believe lies and evil are good and that good is bad. And so many people are going to love the tyranny. They're very childlike, very dog-like. It's like taking an old dog out that's got cancer, and you don't want to take it into the vet to have them put it down that way. You know, that actually scares them worse. They can smell the death in there. So you just walk them back on the back.
All right, let's what look like right now.
The answer is a little more complicated than it appears. To start, we need to figure out what World War III is likely to mean. The world has had plenty of conflicts in the last few decades, but they're usually either a powerful country imposing its will on a smaller one or invading it for a specific purpose, like we're seeing in Ukraine right now and Iraq in the early 2000s. There have also been thorny regional conflicts, like the constant border skirmishes between India and Pakistan, but none have exploded into World War III. And when it does happen, we'll probably know it. World War III is likely to involve two major blocks of nations around the world. On one side, we'll see the U.S. and its NATO allies, most of Western Europe, along with Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, and South Korea. India and Israel, both of which have strong ties to the bloc, are likely to work with them as well. Then in the other corner, we have the United States' two closest rivals for the superpower crown, Russia and China. While the two countries aren't in perfect harmony over Russia's invasion of Ukraine, they both view the U.S. as their chief rival and are likely to work in sync if a war breaks out. China would likely pull its two nuclear-armed allies, Pakistan and North Korea, along with the ambitious Iranians who are looking to join the nuclear club, a small group only joined by a select few other nations, but certainly a powerful bloc in terms of military strength. This conflict will start in a familiar place. World War III isn't likely to break out from nowhere. It'll be a continuation of ongoing conflicts. The most likely flashpoint is in Eastern Europe. If Russia takes the continued supply of NATO weapons to Ukraine as a declaration of war, or attacks a NATO nation directly, it would trigger Article 5 and bring all NATO members into the war. Likewise, if Russia wins the war in Ukraine and declares it Russian territory, then it might just view NATO's presence on its border as a provocation. And just like it did in 1939, the battle for Europe would begin. And when one conflict breaks out, others are sure to follow. Ukraine is to Russia what Taiwan is to China. The larger power has never given up the hope of reclaiming it even after decades. And in China's case, they've never ever acknowledged Taiwan as an independent nation. The chaos in Europe has created the perfect chance for China to move on Taiwan and try to conquer it without getting into a larger war, hoping that the United States, which has pledged to defend Taiwan, would be too busy to jump into the fray. Of course, if that gambit fails, we're likely to have a shooting war between the U.S. and China across the Pacific Ocean, and this explosion of conflict would lead to more flare-ups. Would North Korea take advantage of China's move on Taiwan to launch its own assault on South Korea? Would the ongoing India-Pakistan border conflicts break into something larger? Would the mullahs of Iran finally attempt to destroy Israel and potentially trigger retaliation from the secret nuclear power? Who else would get involved? And who will be left standing when the smoke clears? First, let's look at who's likely to come away scot-free. The safest continent to be in the outbreak of World War III might just be South America. The continent is heavily dominated by mainstream left-wing parties and have friendly relations with both the U.S. and Russia, so the odds are they'll stay neutral in the conflict. All these countries are democracies, with the exception of chaotic Venezuela. Also working in their favor is the fact that no South American country has nuclear weapons, and most have militaries only designed for domestic use. Not only are they unlikely to get involved directly in any conflict, but there isn't likely to be any motivation for a country to invade them. While it's possible they could be used as a staging ground for attacks to the north, there are much easier ways to attack the United States. Thus, the only thing South America likely has to worry about in World War III is nuclear fallout drifting their way if everything gets completely out of control. They're not the only countries that can breathe easy. Probably the most remote remote country in the world, New Zealand is in a lucky position. While it's firmly aligned with the Western Bloc and its fate is closely tied to that of its much larger neighbor Australia, it's more likely to avoid trouble for one simple reason. Australia is a pretty good shield. Australia is a massive nation that's closely tied to NATO and hosts the U.S.
The Federal Reserve Bank of New York just issued a digital dollar. Effectively,
and British military facilities. While it's unlikely Australia will be totally destroyed, as it is a large country with a small military force, it could definitely find itself occupied by a foreign army. But would these invaders proceed to New Zealand? The answer is probably not. New Zealand doesn't pose much of a threat militarily and is one of the most remote countries in the world. If they didn't get directly involved, New Zealand might be able to ride out the war. And as Australia is unlikely to be targeted by nuclear weapons, fallout will likely not be a threat. And the same goes for a continent that's breathing a sigh of relief. For hundreds of years, Africa has been treated as an all-you-can-eat buffet by colonial powers, with almost all the countries on the continent being invaded, colonized, and looted of their resources and even their people. Today, they have a complex relationship with the world's great powers. But many countries are seeing their economies grow at an astonishing rate, and other countries investing in factories and talent there. China, in particular, has seen its investment in the continent grow, with many key factories producing high-tech components used in military warfare being hosted in these nations. Africa has no nuclear powers, and its militaries are unlikely to get involved directly in any conflict. So the most likely problem Africa is going to face is dealing with rival powers interfering in each other's investments. But for other countries, prospects are thornier. Could the United States survive World War III? Well, they have a few advantages. For one thing, they're relatively isolated away from main flashpoints, which also allowed them to experience minimal conflict on the home front during the first two world wars. But this time, there's an additional threat: nuclear weapons, which means that the enemies can hit any country anywhere in the world. It's believed only Russia and China have the ability to hit the U.S. homeland right now, with North Korea trying to join the party. The U.S. is also very spread out, with dozens of cities dotted around the world's third-largest country. While it could sustain some massive hits if the war goes nuclear, it's well-equipped to survive. And if its survival is truly in danger, so is the rest of the world. Its most vulnerable areas might be its Pacific holdings, including the state of Hawaii and the territory of Guam. And its neighbors are largely in the same boat. There's a reason there isn't likely to be any major conflict on North American soil. All of the countries there are relatively friendly with each other. Canada is a member of NATO and a close ally of the U.S., and the two are likely to be on the same side. Relations with Mexico can be a little chillier, and the country was famously approached to join Germany in World War I with the promise of reclaiming its lost territory, but it's not likely to actively side against the United States. These two countries aren't likely to be targeted directly during the war, except in a full-scale nuclear barrage. Although Canada is uniquely vulnerable in some ways. That's because despite being the world's second-largest country, the vast majority of its population is located in less than 10 cities, less than an hour from the U.S. border. And in the same boat, it's one of the ringleaders of the other side. China is likely to be a key player in World War III along with Russia as the leaders of the forces opposing the U.S. and its allies. But it's in a better position strategically. For one thing, the belligerent Vladimir Putin is likely to provoke retaliation from his enemies with big, flashy war crimes, while the ruthless Xi Jinping will be able to stay further under the radar. China is also roughly the size of the United States and is the most populous country in the world. If things escalate to nuclear weapons, the country will likely take some massive hits, probably from the U.S., but also possibly from India. But it would be very hard for its enemies to destroy the country without endangering the future of all life on Earth. The same can't be said for these countries. These are the ones that are in the biggest danger of being wiped off the map. We have to start with the most vulnerable countries in the case of World War III breaking out: Ukraine and Taiwan. If this global war starts, it'll likely start right there, and some might say it already has. Right now, Ukraine is turning the tide on Russia. They're supplied with heavy-duty NATO artillery and are shooting down Russian planes and blowing up their ships, while Russia is limited to committing indiscriminate war crimes with an army increasingly staffed by draftees. But if Putin gets backed into a corner and starts using nuclear weapons, the tide could turn very quickly, and Ukraine could see its largest cities destroyed in a flash. From there, it would be overrun, and the devastated country would become little more than a staging ground for Putin's next conquest. And the same could happen half a world away. China is less likely than Russia to use nuclear weapons against Taiwan, mostly due to Taiwan's small size. Such an attack could destroy the small island, but because of China's ambition to reincorporate the nation, it is unlikely. In order to do that, it would likely start with a shock and awe attack, hitting Taiwan with a naval assault, blasting through its defenses, and likely causing mass destruction as well as loss of power and access to resources in its largest city, Taipei. This would all happen very fast. And while Taiwan could likely hold out for a while, China has more resources and deadlier weapons. Unless the United States got directly involved and started firing back, Taiwan would likely still exist as a plot of land, but the nation, its government, and the people would become nothing more than a pawn and a hostage for China. Back in Europe, Ukraine isn't the only country in danger. Putin's had his sights on access to the Baltic Sea for a long time, and its only water access is limited. The odds are these small nations would be the first on the chopping block once Putin triumphs over Ukraine and World War III is on. All these countries, Estonia, Lithuania, and Latvia, are in NATO, but any pretenses of respecting that larger alliance are likely out the window at this point. Putin will be looking to reclaim its borders of the old Soviet Union, and these countries all border Russia or its puppet state Belarus. That makes them easy pickings, and the countries to Russia's south aren't any safer. Russia has long held that it wants NATO off its border, and NATO members close by would be likely its first targets. That includes Moldova and Romania, and in those cases, there's an extra thorny issue to discuss, a semi-autonomous region called Transnistria that is claimed by both Russia and Moldova. But Russia has long held that the region's residents would like to join Russia. Is this true? No one knows, and any referendum they hold would likely be conducted at gunpoint, just like the ones done in Donbass. But in the breakout of a larger conflict, the odds are that Russia would just march in, take Transnistria, and maybe even Moldova for that matter. If things went further, like the Baltic states, this would lead to war with NATO, as the next country in the region on Russia's chopping block is Romania, who is a member of NATO. But Putin has largely passed the point of caring. In fact, just about all of Europe would be facing an existential threat. While Russia is gigantic, the same can't be said about any of its neighbors. In the event of a full-on nuclear war, most of Putin's enemies could find themselves suffering massive destruction and loss of life. Most of these countries would have key cities that could be easily targeted with mid-range missiles from Russia, if those missiles still work. Russia relies heavily on Cold War-era weaponry, and that means anything could happen. But if he lets the missiles fly, Germany, France, and the UK could all face annihilation, and so could the rest of the world. If Putin maintains a more measured approach, he would likely continue advancing from his earlier conquests. And that means Poland and Finland would likely also be in serious danger. But Russia has invaded Finland before, and the Finns proved to be more than the Russians bargained for. So Europe's fate lies in the hands of Putin making the right choice. That's comforting. In Asia, it's a different story. China's military is newer and more effective than Russia's, so the odds are they take a different approach. They've been dealing the death of 1,000 cups in many nearby nations already, particularly Vietnam and the Philippines. They've been taking over the territorial waters, creating artificial islands to serve as military bases, and declaring the entire South China Sea as their territorial waters. None of these countries are prepared for a full-scale war against a major power, so odds are they'd be taken over quickly in the event of a war, with China using them as a staging ground for a larger conflict. That would possibly inflict massive damage on those nations, but would be unlikely to destroy them. The same can't be said for another neighbor. If there's a country in Asia that's most vulnerable besides Taiwan, it's probably Japan. The strongest economy in Asia besides China, it's a key U.S. ally, but it also doesn't have a particularly strong military due to World War II treaties. It relies heavily on the United States for its defense and houses a large number of soldiers and military bases, which makes it an inviting target for a Chinese attack. This would be seen as a two-for-one benefit if war breaks out over Taiwan. Not only would China be potentially kneecapping the American fleet, but it would be getting long-awaited revenge on Japan for the devastation caused by Imperial Japan on China almost a century ago. Could Japan become both the first and second country to be hit by a nuclear weapon? It depends on how much China wants to escalate, but it's definitely the most likely initial target for China in the region. And if China and the U.S. go to war, there are a lot of countries in the way. What do Kiribati, Tuvalu, and Nauru have in common? They're all some of the smallest countries in the world. And they're also in the way if a war breaks out between the United States and China. They're part of a network of small island nations in Oceania, along with Vanuatu, Fiji, Samoa, Micronesia, and the Solomon Islands, and the Cook Islands. And if a full Pacific war breaks out, odds are they'll be quickly invaded by whichever country gets there first. They're closer to China, which makes occupation by them more likely. And while it's unlikely that they'd be hit by heavy artillery, these vulnerable nations could cease to exist very quickly and wind up as heavily damaged pawns in a larger conflict. While these superpowers battle it out and smaller nations hang in the balance, some other countries might be in serious danger from local enemies. There's another country that plays a host to a huge number of U.S. troops and bases, South Korea, which has heavily relied on the U.S. for its defense since the Korean War armistice. But unlike its enemy North Korea, it doesn't have nuclear weapons. As a key ally to the U.S., it would be seen as an enemy to China, but they're unlikely to attack it directly. That would be seen as a massive escalation by the U.S. and likely trigger an attack on the mainland if its military bases like the massive Camp Humphreys were hit. But bad news for South Korea is China doesn't have to attack them. China is one of the few countries that maintains good relations with the hermit kingdom of North Korea, and they try their best to keep the unpredictable Kim Jong-un under control. But what if they kick the leash off and say, go to town?
Recently, you may have noticed billionaires buying up land all across America, raw land, farm.
That would be an effective way to keep South Korea occupied while they go after U.S. interests. But things could get out of control very quickly. Both Koreas are small nations, and North Korea could deliver a devastating blow to its enemy by using its short-range nuclear weapons to wipe Seoul off the map, clearing the way for an invasion into a destabilized country. But they might get more than they counted on. For one thing, using nuclear weapons on their close neighbor might lead to significant fallout hitting North Korea. But more dangerously, North Korea would immediately become a top target for the U.S. and likely to be targeted with massive bombing raids, if not nuclear retaliation. It's very likely that if a full-on conflict between the two Koreas broke out in the middle of World War III, neither country would be in functioning shape by the time it was over, which would make the entire region highly vulnerable to a quiet Chinese takeover from their northern border. And to the south, another conflict could spiral completely out of control. Unlike North and South Korea, neither India nor Pakistan have unstable governments or leaders, and both are fairly even in military strength and nuclear arsenal. That might keep both at bay, as the Kashmir border conflict stays on a low boil, even as India backs America's alliance and Pakistan backs China's. But there's no guarantee of that. We've seen deadly border conflicts in recent years, and cooler heads usually prevail. But would the same hold when all countries all over the world are being brutally bombed? Or would one of the powers decide now is the time to settle the conflict permanently? The two countries are neighbors, and while they're both large countries, a large-scale nuclear conflict could likely bring fallout into both nations. They're also densely populated. Both are in the top 10 most populated nations, with India in the cusp of first place. So any conflict would come with massive loss of life. The case scenario, if a conflict breaks out, is that both countries would stick to conventional weapons, resulting in a conflict full of death and destruction, but without the earth-shaking weapons that could turn both countries into wastelands. But if one reckless leader crosses the line, it could result in a chain of events that will lead to more death than we've ever seen before. And in the aftermath, the odds are good that China would sweep into the region just like it would in Korea. Would another potential flashpoint blow up in the Near East? It's questionable whether Israel will even directly get involved in World War III, but it may not have a choice. The small Mediterranean nation is between a rock and a hard place. And while it would likely be firmly aligned with the American side, it might choose not to send troops to any combat theater. That's because it tries to maintain good relations with Russia, both because of the Jewish population in the former Soviet Union and because Russia plays a key role in Syria, Israel's northern neighbor. If Russia thought Israel was betraying it, it could easily unleash its proxies in Syria to rain rockets down on the small country and cause major casualties that Israel's Iron Dome missile defense system couldn't prevent. But while Israel might not be looking for a fight, the fight might come to Israel. There's no country that Israel has worse relations with than Iran, especially after the former president Mahmoud Ahmadinejad threatened to wipe it off the map. As Iran ramps up its nuclear program, Israel is on high alert to potentially attack its infrastructure like it did to Iraq and Syria in the past. But would Iran strike first? The current president has denied the Holocaust happened and threatened Israel repeatedly, so it might decide that a global conflict is a great opportunity to make its move. If it used conventional weapons, Israel would likely respond tenfold, and a new bloody regional conflict would kick off. But there's one deadly X factor here. If Iran was able to finish its nuclear weapon, or get help from North Korea or another rogue nation, it could attempt to hit Israel and wipe the tiny country out. Israel has a robust missile defense system, so there's a chance it could divert the hit and avoid a nuclear blast. But successful or not, an attempted nuclear attack would likely trigger massive retaliation, and Israel would almost definitely respond to a successful nuclear hit with its own secret nuclear arsenal. And it likely has enough to turn Iran into a shell of its current self. So if things spiral out of control, it's possible both Israel and Iran could face existential threats. And there's one more country in the crosshairs. We've talked about the United States and China, and why they're likely to survive World War III, even if it goes nuclear. Both countries are large enough and stable enough that they could likely take nuclear hits and survive, even if it resulted in massive amounts of damage. The only way either country could truly be destroyed is if things escalated to a point where the survival of humanity was threatened. But the same doesn't apply to Russia. While it is the largest country in the world, it's also uniquely vulnerable in some key ways. Here's how World War III could lead to the end of Russia as a nation. While Russia has over 145 million people, it also has one of the largest metro areas in the world, Moscow, which houses close to 10% of the country's total population. It's the home of much of the country's infrastructure, which means that the world could respond to a Russian nuclear attack by obliterating their largest city in the blink of an eye. The second largest city, St. Petersburg, has over 5 million people and would likely be targeted as well. And no city besides those two has more than 1.6 million people. Those other cities are scattered around the massive Russian landscape, and it's likely that if the Russian government were decapitated in a strike, it would be very hard for the country to recover. And that could lead to a devastating chain reaction. Russia has repeatedly threatened the use of nuclear weapons, but no one knows how many functioning ones they have. Some could fire and hit their targets, others could misfire, and some might not even fire at all or blow up in their missile silos. But as soon as Russia uses nuclear weapons, NATO and its allies will retaliate, potentially leading to world-ending consequences. And in the aftermath, Russia might not look anything like itself. Russia got to this size via conquest, and that can be taken away. With so many different ethnic groups in the country, it's likely many would want to take advantage of the chaos to take control of their fate. We could see a much worse division of the country than we did after the collapse of the Soviet Union, with Russia losing some areas to other neighboring nations, taking back their territory, and others declaring independence for the first time in centuries. And as for Russia itself, its fate might be familiar to another European nation. Russia would be held responsible for starting World War III, probably more than any other nation. After all, the chain of events started in Ukraine, so once defeated, Russia would likely be subject to harsh sanctions just like Germany was after both world wars. It would be stripped of its conquests and additional territories, and many of the resources would likely be seized to pay reparations. European nations would lay claim to border regions, and top Russian officials would face war crimes charges. In the aftermath of losing World War III, Russia would likely be a sliver of its previous self, under occupation, and with many of its ethnic groups no longer considering themselves Russian. Would there still be a country called Russia? It's likely, but it wouldn't look or act anything like the Russia we know today. Of course, then there's that other possible answer to the question of which countries would be destroyed in World War III. In the worst-case scenario, it might just be all of them. Thanks again to our...
All right. But that plays out. But that hands out and plays out. Is I don't see any winner. I mean, out of any of this, the United States, South America. What could South America do? I mean, without the rest of the world importing, what are they going to do? Supply the world with bananas and coffee or cocaine? I mean, that's the only thing they can. I mean, South America. What else do they have? Venezuela has oil, but without anybody buying it, really, the rest of the country, the rest of the world would be destroyed. The United States would be. With the people we have now in the United States, this is not the greatest generation anymore. We don't have those people anymore. They're dead, or they're dying, one or the other. We're talking about the World War II people and the World War I people. The people that built America, the people that are the back, people that had morality, people that would stand next to you no matter what, that would stand up, and fight. Not people like today who will stab you in the back, rip you off, not be there on time, never show up, lie to your face. Those are the people of today. But so really we would be doomed, and America, of course, would eat on itself, because if without the government structure feeding it, the lazy population we have, we would it would result in the gangs, and we would turn into one major inner city. Just look at the inner cities we have today. Go drive through them. They look like war zones. They're dumps. They're disgusting. And the people have no pride or care whatsoever of cleaning it up or taking care of it. They look to the government for help. Now, which addresses the elections of yesterday, as you saw, what the borders have done now. What the open borders have done, and I will look for that in 2024. You will not see a large Republican win. You'll see mainly Democrats take control over everything, especially in the urban areas, and most of the suburbs that are even somewhat in question will be in trouble. So you're going to have socialism. You're going to have democratic policies across the board. That's from what I got yesterday and analyzing the election. I didn't think it was going to happen that soon. I thought maybe we could hold off to at least 2024, 2026. But with the surge of all these people coming over, and they're voting, coming across the border, and I believe the number's in the tens of millions, really, to be honest with you. I don't think it's 6 million or 5 million. I believe it's in the tens of millions that have come over across since the Biden administration has taken over. Because it's nonstop. It's nonstop. I mean, people are not just coming from South America. They're coming from around the world. So it's in the tens of millions. And that's just what they needed in these elections, these municipal elections and whatnot, to take over. And if you look at the what has happened, the Democrats won yesterday. I mean, they got that edge, and that was the illegal immigrant edge. That's what it was. It was the numbers. Look at the numbers from a few years ago and compare them to today. That's who voted yesterday. I don't know how they could vote, but they're illegal. But they let them vote. So they've got, and they're bragging about it, and these people, and look at the stuff that's popping up now on social media, the stories. Bidenomics is great, and they're just delusional. The inflation is not a problem. The stories they're running with are just pure lies. These people are nuts. They're nuts, and they are evil. They're evil, and we see crime running rampant, violent crime. Like I said, go to an inner city, and a matter of fact, it's 11 o'clock now. If any of you are out and about right now listening to this podcast show, if you're driving around, get off, go to your inner city. Go to a Martin Luther King Drive and tell me what you see. Tell me what you see. What's going on over there? Well, get out of your car if you dare. So it's like being in a war zone, especially if you're a white male. You will be attacked. Fact. So we see what's going on out there. We see what's happening. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I just don't know. I mean, it's sad. I'm sad to tell you that America is done. We're finished. It's over. I mean, I don't see us pulling back out of this. I really don't. I mean, if anyone could disagree with me, or if they have an opinion, you can call in at 657-383-0616. I know it's late. It's a late show. I didn't really advertise it because I didn't know Blog Talk was going to be working. I mean, I don't know what's up with that either. I don't know what the hell you keep going down for and not working. Well, one show the chat room is playing some classical music, and then the other show the phone number don't work, and the other next show the PIN number don't work. So I don't know what the hell's going on. But I haven't seen it get this bad in a while. But I guess that's what we're going to really find out and see in the near future too, is the infrastructure of our country really breaking down and corroding. I saw a couple military reports put out by people that made some videos. People got some information saying that there's going to be blackouts within the next 6 months. That there's going to be, and I've heard that one before, but I don't know. I don't know. We're not in good shape in this country right now. We should all be very, very worried. I mean, literally, we should really be concerned. I mean, look at those elections yesterday. I mean, so look what's going on, and look what's going on the world stage. If you're not prepared or protecting your family, I mean, I don't know how prepared you can get. And I don't know about you. I don't want to live underground. I don't want to live in a bunker in the ground for the rest of my life. But what's going to happen here? We've allowed evil to flourish. We've stood back and done nothing. We've allowed this to happen, and we didn't stand up and fight like we should have. We got complacent, and I believe it was the generation of the 50s and 60s and 70s that really did a really, really bad job, that really set the stage for the door opening in the 80s and 90s, and now in this new millennium stuff, it's just really taken over. It's destroyed us. I mean, it's bad. So we don't have a republic for sure. Our law has become perverted. We don't even know our history anymore. We don't understand the Federal Reserve banking cartel, how they create the fractional reserve banking Ponzi scheme that they do. We have corporate thugs like Amazon, eBay, PayPal that have taken over our system of shopping, Home Depots, Lowe's. So we don't have anything. We have no backbone of retail anymore. We don't manufacture anything anymore, really. I mean, all our automobile plants are where they design the cars there, and they, most of the technological stuff and stuff that really requires a lot of work is overseas. It's done overseas. Many of the parts that are made and built and shipped over to here. So we don't have anything anymore. We don't have any infrastructure. We don't have no steel mills. We have no textile plants. We don't have anything that's worth falling back on, and that's sad. But we want to joke around and play games still. Hey, football is on Sunday. Let's talk about football. Want to talk about the Dumb Bowl? Everyone can give me the stats to all the players. They can give me the records. They can give me the names of all the teams. But then when you ask them about the Constitution or the Federal Reserve, they can't tell you nothing. So they've done their job. The communist Marxist scumbags have done their job, and the elite private banking cartels and money changers have done their jobs well. And the devil, Satan, whatever you want to call it, evil. That's it. That's the wickedness that has overcome us pretty darn good. Now, I'm not giving up the fight by no means. I'm still going to fight. I'm still going to stand up for what I know is right. And all you have to do is ask your conscience which way to go, and your conscience will steer you the right way. But you're outnumbered. Even most of us within our own families, our families will attack us. And come after us and ridicule us for what we believe as being maybe constitutionalist or believing in the republic or standing up against the New World Order all these years, talking about the New World Order. I remember years ago I was called a crazy lunatic when I said about the New World Order. I'll never see that in your life. You're crazy. You shouldn't be talking like that. My own family. Yeah. So, but look, here it is. Microchip, the digital currency that's going to be coming out. That's when they will be able to have total control over every aspect of your life with that digital currency. And I think I had something there that I wanted to play on that from the other night. Actually, it was the last part of the Freedom for Fascism. I think if I can get it up here real quick, it's really good. The last part, I didn't have to get to it the other night when I played it. I'm not going to play the whole thing all over again. I'm just going to play the last part that talks a lot about that and the end game of these people and what the deal is and what's going to happen with us here. So let me see if I can get this up. Hopefully I can get it up without a problem here. I hope I can. Let's see here. Freedom to Fashion. Come on now. It can't be that many far. Oh, there it is. Okay, let me pull that up, and we'll get ready to get this going. And it'll be the last, I think it's the last 13 minutes. It's pretty good. This was done by Aaron Russo. It was many years ago. It was about, 10 years ago? It says 10 years ago. It was 10 years ago. I can't believe it's been that long already. But Aaron Russo, Freedom to Fascism. I played it the other night, so go back and listen to the show. It's pretty good. And I didn't get a chance to finish the end of it, so that's what I'm going to get to right here and see if we can get this. Can you be patient here? Okay, she should be coming on right now. Here we go. Okay.
Being able to determine who buys what. Razor waves can travel through walls, they can travel through wood, they can travel through the things we normally rely on to protect our privacy. For example, your purse, your backpack, your pocket, anything you're wearing or carrying. Kraft Philadelphia cream cheese has been tagged as RFID and sold to consumers, as have Mach 3 razor products and other Gillette razor products, without the knowledge of the consumer. One of the tiny chips could actually even be the dot on the letter I on the back of the fine print on a package that you purchase. They were talking about having reader devices in every airport, on every bus, on every train, on every port, on every dock. One of the most worrisome applications of RFID are proposals to put them into cash, meaning that you would be able to track every banknote, where it had been, who it had been issued to, and create, in essence, an audit trail. That would essentially take away the anonymity of cash that we now enjoy today. The ATM machine itself, as the money came through the roller device, would be reading each number. And they would know who you are because, of course, you identify yourself at the bank before you take money out. And down the road, when you go to pay at a major retailer, it would also be possible for them, if they're putting the money into the cash drawer, to simply feed it through a little reader device. It would go in, it would tag that number and transfer possession from Aaron Russo, say, to Walmart. Once everything you do is tied down to a single number and there is no longer the ability to pay with cash, then all it takes to render you a non-citizen is to simply turn that chip off. You will no longer be able to really participate in any function in society, including by food.
So through the implementation of the Federal Reserve System, the American citizen has gone from being a private individual who had real money, gold, in his possession that was private, to a citizen who has no privacy because all money is now being digitized. They can deduct whatever amount of money they want out of your digits whenever they want. They can trace you whenever they want. You'll be at their mercy. God forbid we allow this to happen in America.
This is absolutely Orwellian. I mean, it's talking about Big Brother looking over your shoulder at absolutely everything you do, every purchase you make, every place you go, every company you interact with. All of that would be reported back potentially to the government.
Mary, may I take your order?
Hi, Mary. Yes, I'd like an order.
Is this Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Thank you for calling again, sir. Enter your national identification number is 610-204-999-8-45-54610. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. I see you live at 736 Montrose Court, but you're calling from your cell phone. Are you at home?
I'm just leaving work, but I'm...
Oh, we can deliver to Bob's Auto Supply. That's at 175 Lincoln Avenue, yes?
No, I'm on my way home. How do you know all this stuff?
We just got wired into the system, sir.
Oh, well, I'd like to order a couple of your double meat special pizzas.
Sure thing. There'll be a new $20 charge for this, sir.
What do you mean?
Sir, the system shows me that your medical records indicate that you have high blood pressure and extremely high cholesterol. Luckily, we have a new agreement with your national health care provider that allows us to sell you double meat pies as long as you agree to waive all future claims of liability.
What?
Do you agree, sir? You can sign the form when we deliver, but there is a charge for processing. The total is $67 each.
$67?
Well, that includes the delivery surcharge of $15 to cover the added risk to our driver of traveling through an orange zone.
I live in an orange zone?
Now you do. Looks like there was another robbery on Montrose yesterday. You could pay $48 if you ordered our special pepperoni combo and picked it up yourself. Comes with tofu sticks. Those are very tasty, sir. Good value, too.
But I want double meat.
Well, I'm sure you can afford the $67 then. You just bought those tickets for Hawaii. They weren't cheap, eh? Oh, but I see you checked out the budget beach bum at the library last week. Up to you, sir.
All right. I'll get the Sprout stuff.
Good choice, sir. Gotta watch that waist if you're hitting the beach, eh? 42 inches. Wow. Man, I'd say tofu and sprouts is like required.
That's how much?
Just between you and me, there's a $3 off coupon in this month's Total Men's Fitness magazine. Your wife Betty subscribes to that, right? Anyhow, flip that and it's $19.99 even. Whoa, looks like you maxed out on all your credit cards. Bring cash, okay?
Have we become so controlled and so ignorant about our rights that big institutions and big government can do whatever they want with us, even without our approval? I knew for certain the Founding Fathers would resist to the death what is happening in America today. And I, for one, will not accept a national ID card. And if nobody accepts a national ID card, and nobody can board a plane without one, then let the airlines go bankrupt. And if you can't open a bank account in a big money center bank, then open an account in a small local bank. And if we can't walk into a federal building, I personally would consider that a blessing. Don't allow these institutions to dictate to us how we conduct our lives. This is America, and we have free choice. We, the people, have all the power, not the government. Government gets its power from us, not the other way around. Think of all the men and women who died in all our wars, fighting for freedom, not Federal Reserve bankers. Do you think they sacrificed their lives so that Americans can be chipped like a dog, so we could all have a homing device inside us? No. This ID card is the last step before they implant us. And that's precisely the reason nobody should accept one. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to call in the propaganda machine, the media, and try and sell this as if it were in everybody's best interest.
We're working on a product that we have called internally a PLD. PLD stands for Personal Locating Device, which is an implantable GPS for which our company owns a patent. It's a hybrid of the two of these products, being Digital Angel and Verichip, is what we call PLD. PLD should be in prototype form by the end of this year, by December of 2002, and we are already working with the Food and Drug Administration as well as legislative agencies with these products and ultimately with the PLD.
We have a Florida family who are really pioneers in a brave new world. They have volunteered to be the first ever to have microchip identification devices implanted into their bodies.
After 9/11, I was really concerned with the security of my family.
I wouldn't mind having something planted permanently in my arm that would identify me.
Talk about identification papers. Watch what happens to a woman in Florida whose license was suspended.
Get out of the car or I'm going to tase you. The next street off the Secret. I understood it. Do it now. Put your hands behind your back. Do it now. Do it now. You're going to get tased again. Do it now. Do it now. On your back. Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back. There you can. Got blood on your Hold on, Bob. You tased me and you handcuffed me?
Yep, you're under arrest.
For what reason?
Your license is suspended.
All the power is in the people. And to the extent that government becomes alienated from the people, does things that people don't want, power is transferred until you finally come to a police-state, totalitarian state, whatever word you want to give it, where the desires of the people really have no consequence. They go out and they vote. Doesn't make any difference which candidate they elect.
I'm a programmer. I work for NASA, work for ExxonMobil, work for Department of Transportation.
Mr. Curtis, are there programs that can be used to secretly fix elections?
Yes.
How do you know that to be the case?
Because in October of 2000, I wrote a prototype for Congressman Tom Feeney at the company I work for in Oviedo, Florida, that did just that.
And when you say just that, it would rig an election?
It would flip the vote 51-49 to whoever you wanted it to go to and whichever race you wanted to win.
And would that program that you designed be something that elections officials that might be on county boards of elections could detect?
They'd never see it.
So how would such a program, a secret program that fixes the election, how could it be detected?
You would have to view it either in the source code or you'd have to have a receipt and then count the hard paper against the actual vote total. Other than that, you won't see it.
Given the availability of such vote-rigging software and the testimony that has been given under oath of substantial statistical anomalies and gross differences between exit polling data and the actual tabulated results, do you have an opinion whether or not the Ohio election, presidential election, was hacked?
Yes, I would say it was.
So in other words, there's absolutely no assurance whatsoever in anything with regard to these machines?
Absolutely none.
Anybody who trusts an electronic voting machine should have their head examined.
Many of the voting machine companies are owned and operated by foreign agencies.
Now we can see a new world coming into view. A world in which there is a very real prospect of a new world order.
The new world order will be built. An end run on national sovereignty, eroding it piece by piece, will accomplish much more than the old-fashioned frontal assault, Council on Foreign Relations. We shall have world government, whether or not we like it. The only question is whether world government will be achieved by conquest or consent. Paul Warburg, Counselor on Foreign Relations and architect of the Federal Reserve System.
There's a group that get together internationally, and they sort of play God with our money.
You think that's part of what George Bush said was the One World Order?
They can't have a new world order only with a world police, military. Right. I think the financial system ultimately is even more important than the gun.
The central bankers of the world are working together to create a one world government. A global police state as sinister as anything George Orwell ever wrote about, where every person on the planet Earth will have an RFID chip implanted, where the bankers and the governments can monitor every transaction you make.
A chip and everybody would be the universal monetary system par excellence, because there'd be no escape from it. And you'd be totally under the control of those who issue the electronic impulses in that chip.
Their strategies are being accomplished through the World Trade Organization, the International Monetary Fund, and the Bank for International Settlements, which is the central bank for all the central banks of the world. Most people don't have a clue that these unelected private bankers actually control the governments of the world. They have financed and profited from every war since World War I without concern for humanity. The war in Iraq is an attempt by the Federal Reserve and their partner, the Bank of England, to control the Middle East and to make it a part of the New World Order. To defend the New World Order, U.S. soldiers will have to kill and die. Arthur Schlesinger, Counselor on Foreign Relations. Military men are just dumb, stupid animals to be used as pawns in foreign policy. Henry Kissinger, Counselor on Foreign Relations. Now let's listen to this quote by Robert Reich, a member of President Clinton's cabinet and one of his most trusted advisors. The dirty little secret is that both houses of Congress are irrelevant. America's domestic policy is now being run by Alan Greenspan and the Federal Reserve. America's foreign policy is now being run by the International Monetary Fund. When the president decides to go to war, he no longer needs a declaration of war from Congress. Dr. Carol Quigley, professor from Georgetown University, who was also President Clinton's mentor, said in his book, Tragedy and Hope, the powers of financial capitalism had a far-reaching aim, nothing less than to create a world system of financial control in private hands, able to dominate the political system of each country and the economy of the world as a whole. And then President Clinton's Deputy Secretary of State, Strobe Talbot, said, in the next century, nations as we know it will be obsolete. All states will recognize a single global authority. All these supposed free trade agreements, NAFTA, GATT, CAFTA, are truly nothing more than the governments of the world and the central banks working together to create a one-world government. They are not free trade. These treaties are government-managed trade, and they are destroying the American worker. Through these treaties, the bankers are actually beginning to control the laws of the world. The fact is that this relationship between the bankers, the government, and the huge multinational corporations is the very reason why the government no longer enforces its immigration laws. The bankers want a one-world government without borders, and the American government is obeying them. If the government was so worried about terrorism, why are they leaving the borders open? But at the same time, telling American citizens they need an ID card with an RFID chip.
Osama bin Laden could not come over here and limit your rights or my rights to free speech, from search and seizure, from all of these elements in the Bill of Rights. Impossible for him to do that. They could never accomplish that on their own. But through our government, they've apparently accomplished that.
Look what happened in Europe. The people that voted down the European Constitution wanting each country to stay sovereign. Yet the private central bankers are pushing the governments forward to make this Constitution happen, even though the people voted against it and clearly do not want a world government nor one European government. That we would be better off if he and his bank of friends ran the world.
Benito Mussolini had a great quote about fascism. He said that fascism should be called corporatism more properly because it's the perfect merger of power between the corporation and the state. That's how we define fascism. And that's what we're seeing here.
The media controls the information that a person gets. In various ways, they can make sure that the average American watching the tube or reading the newspaper is going to come out with a certain mindset. He's going to say, this is good, that's bad, and that's all they have to do.
You look at the ownership of corporate media in this country. Who owns CBS? Viacom? Who owns NBC? GE? Who owns ABC? Disney?
Americans have been taught to expect their salvation from government instead of recognizing government as the most dangerous threat they'll face in their lives.
And the United States putting together a constitution now for Iraq. You know, why don't we just give them ours? I mean, think about it. It served us well for over 200 years, and we don't appear to be using it anymore, so what the hell? All right. Here we go. Get that chair's taken off of there. All right, well, I mean, that was a good documentary. Like I said, broke it up there in a couple shows. Pretty serious stuff, if you ask me. That was 10 years ago. I mean, and they were telling me stuff I already knew. That was 10 years ago. So good to refresh, you know, the ways that they tell it. American Freedom to Fascism is a 2000, almost more than that, 2006 film by Aaron Russo, which alleges, among a variety of claims, that income tax is legal. The documentary covers many subjects, including the Internal Revenue Service, IRS, the Income Tax Federal Reserve System, National ID cards, Real ID Act, human implanted RFID tags, fly chips, voting machines, the electronic voting machines, globalization, Big Brother, taser weapons abuse, alleged the use of terrorism by government as means to diminish the citizens' rights. The film determined to find the law that requires citizens to pay income tax. Producer Aaron Russo set out on a journey to find the evidence. This film, which is neither left nor right wing, is a startling examination of government. It exposes the systematic erosion of civil liberties in America since 1913, when the Federal Reserve System was fraudulently created. So Aaron Russo, he was born in 1943, passed away in 2007. So yeah, man, crazy. And there is no law that says you have to pay taxes, but they'll put you in jail, huh? And I'll tell you something right now. If that was one of my family members, if that was my son or my father or my grandmother being tased like that, well, it was a woman, so let's say it's a woman. If that was my grandmother being tased like that, and she was screaming like that in my presence, I would kill that son of a bitch. I'll tell you that right now. Anyone who was hurting one of my family members like that, I don't care who you are, because they put their pants on just like everybody else. We've got to stop putting people on in categories like they can't be touched. You know, you hurt someone, you break the law, you violate the Constitution, you are subject to prosecution, arrest, and if you're found guilty, then the sentence, whatever's appropriate that the jury finds, will be it. That's all it's to it. We have to stop it. Stop it. You know, like I said, like I always say, you know, people they'll run. You know, you see somebody road rage on the road or whatever. You turn your blinker on, cut somebody off by accident. Rah! beeping the horn. Guy's eyes bugging out of his head, ready to kill you. Chase you down 90 miles an hour. But cop pulls them over. They're pissing on themselves. So it's crazy. Stop it. Knock it off, man. 657-383-0616. If you guys want to comment on that documentary or what's somebody saying in the chat room here? But we're free according to King George, and with a backup. Yeah, I guess. Well, we're never free, but so far, so Blog Talk's still working. That's good anyway. So anybody here, like I said, wants to comment or chip in, I know it's a show I did a spur of the moment, and it was late night, so press number 1. I don't know if you can press 1. I don't know if it'll work or not. I don't know. I haven't taken any live callers, so everybody says they can hear me fine, so that's good. But, yeah, man, that documentary is like a documentary that has woken up a lot of people over the years. That was a good documentary. And I believe, like I said, the Federal Reserve is the chief structure of this country. It's politicians are there, like George Carlin says, only to make you think that you have a choice. You don't. You don't have a choice. It's an illusion. There's one guy holding both puppets. I like the guy on the left. I like the guy on the right. But the one guy's holding both puppets. Until we get people elected into office, which I don't think we can now with the voting and the way it's going. We saw what happened yesterday. To recap on that, the illegal immigrant vote has really persuaded to the Democrat side now. So you're going to really see Democrats take charge all over the board now because of the numbers, just the way the numbers are. And, of course, with the fraud still going on, everybody's using electronic voting machines. Fraud is still going on. So, what are you going to do? I tried putting voting integrity thing together there. I put it out there. Not too many people bought onto it. I've been trying to unify people here on this podcast show, trying to unify all the other podcast shows, where we can have one voice condensed into one. I know Joe from Montana there, he tried getting some of the podcasters to all sign up and do a show on one particular show, and that fell apart. Everybody wants to do their own thing, and you still could have done your own thing, but no, they want, people, I guess, felt threatened, or they just didn't want to do it, or they just didn't want to give up the beer, or the drugs, or whatever they're on, because, it was only, $39 a month or something, or $20, after we added it all up, it would have came to like $15 or $12 a month for everybody, $12 a month, you can't afford that, and you got problems, Like I said, cut back on the beer, cut back on the drugs, do whatever you got to do. So, but for free, it was for freedom, But they couldn't do it. So let me see here, getting messages. Maybe some people here are trying to call in and they can't. Let me just check that real quick. Press 1, guys. If you can't get on, then I understand. Maybe you are pressing 1. I don't know. So I don't know. I still got a bunch of callers on the board, but I don't see anyone putting their hands up. It could be a defect with Blog Talk Radio. I don't know. So it hasn't been working a lot for the past few days. It's been screwing up. So let's see here. Let me check my messages here. Nobody's. What's this person saying? I don't know. So I don't know what's going on. Let's see. Well, I don't know. What's this guy? Oh yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, yeah, all right, somebody posted my show in the chat room. All right, thanks, I appreciate that, Gunslinger there, posting that in the chat there, appreciate that. And then, Mark, you messaged me, who's this guy, Oh, all right, and they're listening. So everyone's listening, they said they can hear me fine, so that's good. All right, and like I said, if anyone wants to talk, now was your chance. Anytime we get a full board on here, 8 people, everybody's shouting over each other, now you get a chance to talk as much as you want, and nobody wants to put their hand up, or you can't. That's just like, I can't stand that. All right, here we go. We got one taker there. Let's go ahead. Let's bring him on. 214. Go ahead. You're on 214. Maybe that's why they can't talk. let me try to unmute you. Well, wait, hang on. Let me unmute you again. I heard you there. Hang on. There you go. Go ahead there.
It's a Gunslinger, yeah. It would help if I unmute on my end.
Yeah, there you go. You had me worried. I thought the system was broken. So everything appears to be working good for once,
It appears. I push 1 and it says, you're now in the host queue. So maybe they fixed it.
Good. Yeah, good. Well, what was going on? Remember last night it was they were playing classical music in the chat room, and then the night before that you call in, you couldn't get nothing. You know.
Oh yeah,
I don't know what the hell was going on.
Classical music, one show would work, one show not. Sometimes you get in, sometimes you don't get in. I mean, it was up and down, left, right, back and forth. It's great.
A lot of people wouldn't tell on their shows.
Yeah, somebody got their wires crossed and blocked the radio. Jeez.
Yeah, yeah. So what did you think of that documentary? I know you've watched that. You must have seen that one before all these years, as long as you've been fighting for the Constitution, talking about income tax, right?
Oh yeah, I've seen all Alex Jones's all of his documentaries more than once
yeah.
Police State all those and look guess what, he's right. Turns out that he's right.
What'd you think about the election last night? I don't know if you paid attention to it or not. My thoughts on that, on the Democrat wave. What do you think, in your opinion? Because I know you know your stuff. So I got Joe with his hand up too. But go ahead, you answer that if you don't mind.
Well, I hope that it's just a figmatism of our imagination, and that that the Democrats don't get an upper hand. Because if they get an upper hand like they have now, right now, with Poopy Pants Biden and all them freaks, we are in trouble. Well, I'm going to tell you, we are in trouble. Because this is why everything is so fucked up in this country today, is because of Democrats, and nobody seems to realize that. It's really a simple it's a concept. It's very simple. Okay. Democrats are the reason that everything is fucked up. Very simple. And why can't people see that? I have no idea. I mean, it's mind-boggling.
I know. Let me ask a hard question. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I know, and I'm going to probably ask Joe when I connect him too, because I think it's Montana Joe. Listen, Democrats take over. We're put our backs up against the wall. We see that. I mean, they're stripping us of our Second Amendment rights. Obviously, once they get total control, what do you think? It's go time then? That's it. There's nothing else we could do.
Well, there's always some type of situation that you can do. I mean, we're not completely lost yet. We're going down the path now to the lost forest. There's no doubt about that. Going down the wrong track, on the railroad, as the old saying goes. And that bridge is out down there, a few hundred miles on the railroad track, and nobody seems to know it. And maybe something had better change next year, and that something that had better change is Trump had better get back in there, or a person like him. Okay, because if you get somebody that's a Democrat back in there, like I said, we're sunk. We might as well just abandon ship. Okay, because they're not going to do anything good for this country. And whether you love Trump, hate Trump, whatever, I don't care. He did what he said, at least the majority of it. And his hands are tied too. They're all tied.
Yeah.
Every one.
Oh yeah.
They're all their hands are tied. But at least he did a lot of things without getting his brains blown out like JFK did. Remember him? Through the streets of Dallas.
Yeah, you're right about that, man. I think about that running for North Carolina House of Representatives here. It's like, really, how much power do I really have? I really don't have much power. I can introduce legislation and try to get it to committee, try to get it to, voted on. But that's about it. I mean, I just don't have any power as a lawmaker.
Just taking JFK again, because I live outside of Dallas, about 22 miles. Been there many times where, the big X out there in the middle of Main Street, that's where he got his head blown off. I'm sure JFK was warned, okay, by the powers that be. Okay, I'm sure he was warned, saying, Mr. President, I wouldn't do that if I was you. We highly advise you not to do that. He's going to go against the Federal Reserve, and he's going to get us out of Vietnam and all that good, great and wonderful things. And they probably didn't say, I wouldn't do that if I was you, Mr. President. And JFK probably, fuck him, I was going to do it anyway. And look what he got him.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, you're right, man. You're right. Joe from Montana, you there connected with us, talking? Can you hear us? He must be muted, too. Joe, unmute your phone.
Don't pull a gunslinger.
Yeah, don't pull a gunslinger. You're unmuted, Joe. Where are you? I know he can hear me because he's got his hand up. I unmuted him. You're unmuted. I'm going to unmute him again just so he can hear it. He's got his hand up. But, I mean, everything is just doesn't seem like it works right. Joe. All right. Well, he'll jump in whenever he can. Then I guess I don't know. Your phone's muted because I can't hear you, Joe. He just hung up. He must be having bad connection problems. All right. Let me try this private caller then. Private caller, go ahead. Private caller, you're unmuted. Probably Sarge. Unmuted. Maybe they're having trouble getting. Maybe they're having trouble. I don't know. Can you hear me? Is this Sarge or John Doe? Well, you had your hand up, so that's why I unmuted you. No, nothing. There's Joe again. He's back in there again. Let me unmute you, Joe. I'm going to unmute you, okay? All right, hang on. Here we go. What's going on? I guess, Peter, you're gunslinger. You're the only one that got through. Go ahead. Joe, can you hear me?
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, finally. Man.
All right.
What's going on?
Finally. Fuck. Jesus, I had to call back in 3 times. BTR is messing around not only with the host, but apparently they're messing around with the phones of the callers. I couldn't even unmute myself or mute myself. So when I kept hearing you, yeah, I didn't know if I was muted or unmuted on my own phone because the icon wouldn't show me if I was muted or unmuted. But then I couldn't, when I kept saying, hi, hello, anybody there? Nobody was hearing me. So I had to call back in this time.
And I think you had Sarge on there, and he couldn't get through. Yeah, he couldn't get through. So, or his private caller, I don't know who it was. It was either John Doe or Sarge. So they're usually calling from the private number. So what's on your mind anyway? I got you two on here. I could talk to for a couple minutes at least. What's up?
Yeah, well, I listened to the documentary for 5 seconds or so. The tail end of it. You know.
Aaron Russo.
Oh, Jesus. Huh? Oh yeah, Aaron Russo. I saw him when he was. What was he talking to? I think he was talking to Alex Jones, and he was saying that he had a conversation with the Rockefellers, and the Rockefellers wanted Aaron Russo to come over to the New World Order. He said no. And he said the Rockefellers told him that the feminist movement was the idea of the Rockefellers so that women could work and they could pay more taxes. So the Rockefellers had their thumb in that too. So, oh my God, gee. But that the idea by gunslinger that it's only the Democrats that are responsible for what's going on with America is off base. Because the Republicans, when they have control, they fuck up as well. And then, even if the Democrats have control of the House or the Senate, the Republicans, if they were honest people, couldn't they filibuster? Right? If there's 60 Democrats, 40 Republicans, and the 60 Democrats have the control of the House.
Let me try to unmute Sarge again. It's Sarge. All right, is this Sarge unmuted?
Let me check. Yeah, I think it is.
There he is. All right. There you go.
How you doing, man?
Hang in there, man. So Joe just had an interesting question about the filibuster. What's the rules on the filibuster? You're an expert on that, Sarge.
Well, that's not really a constitutional rule. That's a House rule that they make under the provisions of Article 1, Section 8. And it's changed a couple of times. I'm not up on its latest iteration. But that you have to have a certain amount of votes to break a filibuster. I think it's 2/3. And a person can keep a filibuster. It used to be you had to stay on the floor and keep talking indefinitely. You know, but now they got it. They made it. It's got a little chump ass filibuster where you can leave and then come back and do it. It's really punk, but that's what they do now. So, you know.
Well, I mean, a gunslinger. Joe made that comment. He said it.
I mean, if you want a real filibuster, watch the movie Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, where Jimmy Stewart stays on the floor, utterly exhausted, and keeps trying to go to forestall a vote. Now, that's what a real man would do when they really wanted to filibuster. It was that important to them. They were willing to stay on the floor to the point of exhaustion and just keep talking talking, and keep the filibuster going. That was a real man's filibuster. They don't do that anymore because they're all a bunch of punks.
Yeah,
well, I remember
yeah.
Cruz a couple times. Ted Cruz did a filibuster there a couple times. I remember there'd been a couple of years ago, I guess. But what do you think about
he actually did a genuine one, for the amount of time that he wanted to keep it going. Yeah, I got to give him props for that. It was a genuine filibuster.
I got to give him credit for that. What do you think of the new police state by D'Souza? You seen that movie
I haven't
yet?
seen it yet, but I certainly intend to see it because I've seen every documentary he's ever made, and I intend to catch it. But I would agree with him in the general proposition, especially looking at what we're seeing, the way these Democrats, and it's only Democrats who do this. It just is. They're performing lawfare. They're literally, it's like Letitia James in New York. She is literally inverting what the consumer protection law there was intended to do. It was intended to protect debtors from financial institutions, and she done reworked it so it's supposed to prevent the financial institutions from the debtor when the financial institutions don't even make a complaint. I mean, this is police state Soviet shit. There ain't no other way to describe it. You're damn right it is. Yeah. And we're seeing it increasingly everywhere. Only Democrats pervert the law in this manner. I mean, they just completely turn it up. You might find some Republicans might try to use something spuriously, but at least they try to use it in the manner that the legislature was intended to permit in a corrupt manner. Democrats just completely turn everything upside down and just remake it. Like they do history.
Sarge, they came out pretty good yesterday.
They came out good in one state that's kind of purplish reddish anyway. And in Kentucky, where there's a host of other factors to examine. Now, the Republicans did okay at a down ballot from the governor's ballot, but not at the governor. And there's a lot of things that might explain that. But look, what I want to bring up to you was the issue of the Tranifesto. Have you seen the 3 pages of the Tranifesto that these people are trying to keep concealed from us?
No.
Have you seen it?
No. What is
Have you heard about it? Have you even heard about it?
No.
Okay. Steven Crowder. You familiar with a guy named Steven Crowder? He's on YouTube. Yes. Okay, Steven Crowder is a pretty good guy. And he somehow got a hold to probably some disgruntled law enforcement officer using the FBI or in the Nashville Metro Police Department who's sick and tired of these leftist progressives and these Democrats. Again, Democrats. It's Democrats. I know they're doing this. Democrats who are trying to conceal from us the Tranifesto's manifesto. And, there's always an ongoing investigation. Even though the shooter is dead, and it's not likely to be any new charges against anybody else that might have been associated with it. But we now see that this sick, twisted, mentally ill human being was motivated apparently solely by her hatred of heterosexuals and normal people and a resentment that people would not accept her for being anything other than mentally ill. And you got to see what she wrote on the Tranifesto, because I'm telling you, it is raw, unbridled hatred. This young woman, which is what she was, claiming to be a man, this young woman literally transgendered herself, having internalized the language of the Marxists with regard to intersectionality and racism, their intersectional racism that they regularly employ. She literally internalized that dialogue about white people being oppressors and colonizers. She looked in the mirror and she transformed herself not only from being a woman into a man, but she transgendered herself into an oppressed victim, using the same oppressed victim racial rhetoric that we see from the left all the time. That's why they didn't want us to see it.
Is it up anywhere? Is it up anywhere?
Yeah, let me read to you what this crazy woman, this mentally ill person who wanted to be accepted as normal and knew she wouldn't be, did, because this is why she went to that covenant place and killed all these people. Let me look at some of these pages here and what she says. Right? I'm looking at the page right now. And by the way,
the Nashville
mayor has confirmed that the 3 pages that Steven Crowder put up on the web have been confirmed to be legitimate, because guess what he's doing? He's announced an investigation into how they were leaked. listen, this is what she wrote in one page. Listen to this. Kill those kids, those crackers, going to private fancy schools with those fancy khakis and sports backpacks, with their daddy's Mustangs and convertibles. Fuck you, little shits. I wish to shoot your back asses, dicks. It's kind of hard to make it out. With your mop yellow hair. Want to kill all you little crackers. Bunch of little faggots with your white privileges. Thank you, faggots. This is why they want to see this. This is why they did not want us to see this.
Wow.
A mentally ill person who's already further twisted by the racist rhetoric coming from the intersectional progressive left. And she was clearly influenced by it in his crazed writings. And that's why they didn't want to see. That's why that bastard Biden wants to talk about white supremacists wearing khakis and carrying tiki torches. For him, that's the only kind of racism that's out there. And these people are full. And listen to what they're doing with these pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas demonstrators. Listen to the rhetoric they're using. The racist rhetoric they're using. It echoes the Tranifesto.
Wow. Yeah.
I bet you know about this, man. You ought to look into it.
No, I didn't know.
I'm gonna put a link to it in the chat room, so you can go to chat and look for it yourself.
I got Crowder's interview right here. I pulled it up, actually.
Oh, he's the one that leaked the 3 pages, and now that's another reason they got not to cover it, because that's Stephen Crowder. He's a crazy right-wing extremist. We don't need to pay any attention to him. Man, this is diabolical. And everybody needs to see this, not because we're not already aware there are mentally ill people who are prepared to murder. That's understood. We're talking about the cover-up of it. They didn't want us to have it. Look, how long did it take them to reveal the manifesto of the Buffalo shooter and the guy in Uvalde and all these other manifestos? You saw Mama's right, even Christopher Dorner out there in California. We saw his right away. We didn't see this. We still haven't seen this after 8 months.
I was rooting for Dorner. I was rooting for him. I wanted him to get away.
But I'm just saying, we haven't seen. Look, he was killing innocent people who were utterly unconnected.
No,
he was great.
Well, I don't know, Sarge. He kind of.
Yes, he was. Yes, he did. You know? And he killed the sheriffs who were. So what do you expect? The police officers aren't supposed to go after him? Of course they are.
I know. Well,
if he's got a beef, if he's got a beef, that's to be handled in adjudication in a court of law. And he killed them, going after, trying to arrest them with legitimate arrest warrants.
He did go all out.
But anyway, look, all I'm saying here is they don't want to see this crazy woman's writings because they know they're complicit to some extent in what she became. And they didn't want us to see it. That's why they're trying to cover
Sarge,
it from.
You're right, Sarge. And that's a lot of these liberals have that mindset. They've got that, man. And hang on, I got 406 who wants to jump in here. Let's bring 406 in here. Go ahead, 406.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, okay, that's Joe again back in there. Okay. I'm sorry, we had your hand up there. Sorry, Joe.
Yeah, no problem.
But
I had to use a different number.
Yeah, okay, and I got Cave, I think, too. I think there's a Cave. I'm not sure. We've got them unmute them. They're all piling in now. Go ahead, dear Cave. You're unmuted. But that's how they're thinking. That's how they think, these sickos, though. They are sick, Sarge.
Even Crowder put it on blast. These guys are a bunch of fucking weirdos with this. They're all on some shit now with this manifesto trying to hide it, like Sarge said. They all ought to be crucified and hung upside down. All of them.
Well, like Sarge said, I mean, louder with Crowder, he's such a right-wing radical, they're not going to publish anything that he does because he doesn't know what he's talking about. Which conservatives, libertarians, people on the right, how do we know what we're talking about? Right? So, of course, they're going to try to hide it. You know? We don't know what we're talking about. We're always for the Second Amendment and the Constitution and, people who are Christians go for God, etc. So what do we know? Right?
Yeah. Remember when we were on that Liberal Dan show? Remember that Liberal Dan show that I was on with Sarge and I brought you over there? Remember how whacked out they were in that chat room attacking?
Oh, man.
Were they ever? The host was crying.
Wow. I'm telling you, man. Listen to this now. Listen to this. This is another page from the tranny. This is another page from the Tranny-festo. Listen to this. Listen to this shit from the Tranny-festo. Check this out. Death Day. She puts that right at the top of the page. Death Day. Today is the day. The day has finally come. I can't believe it's here. Don't know how I was able to get this far, but here I am. I'm a little nervous, but excited too. Been excited for the past 2 weeks. There were several times I could have been caught, especially back in the summer of 2021. None of that matters now. I'm almost an hour and 7 minutes away. Can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm ready. I hope my victims aren't. My only fear is if anything goes wrong, I'll do my best to prevent something I can't make out of the sort. God, let my wrath take over my anxiety. It might be 10 minutes tops. It might be 3 to 7. It's going to go quick. I hope I have a high death count. Ready to die.
Wow.
After Tape speaks, I want to say something.
Go ahead, Tape.
Hey, you know what? I'm looking back at some of my stuff I had when this went down the event originally. There was a huge, I don't know if you want to call it conspiracy, that when you saw this person come into that school, they had a pair of shoes on that did not match when they actually shot him and killed him at the end of the video. They had 2 different pairs of shoes on, and they are blatantly clear as day. Now, they never went back on that and did anything about that story. You can clearly see that they're wearing a pair of Vans. You know what Vans are with the one white stripe down the side of them?
Yeah.
Then the next pair they have on is like a black Adidas. Completely different.
I don't know. What do you guys think about that? I mean, you know. All right, go ahead, Joe. Go ahead, Joe.
And I thought Crowder got that information. I heard somebody say it was from Project Veritas because they've been on lockdown with whatever they're doing with him.
Yeah.
And I don't know if
I
that's
didn't know
true
about
or not.
that, but that's a very important piece of information. If that's a deep fake video, we have to know about it. What I wanted to after Dave, I think you probably finish up in about 2 seconds or so, and then I'll come in after you. All right?
Okay, go ahead. I'm done, Joe.
Oh, okay. I took a look at the picture of this girl, and she's not a woman; she's a girl. And the reason why I say that is because I've been finding out that even women, men, really have arrested development issues until about the age of 25. She's a youngster. I have to guess that she's been having problems with the parents because she's not ugly. Ugly girls, fat guys, etc. Ugly guys, fat girls, they go through many problems being bullied.
Wait a minute, Joe. Before she went into this insane transgender phase, she was a very attractive young woman. She had a nice smile, and I would say she certainly passes as being normally attractive.
Yeah, to me she does. So I'm asking myself, this dysphoria that she's experiencing, probably, I'm saying probably, I don't know for sure, was brought on by the parents, because a lot of parents nowadays, or at least a few, and more than should be out there, are encouraging their kids to transition. Why? Now that, with this girl probably not getting support from the parents, when you're a youngster, you really need support from your parents, no matter what the fuck you're going through. You need it. If these parents are disapproving, that by itself could trigger her dysphoria, plus the encouragement of the parents, and absorbing all of that rhetoric, which Sarge had delineated already. It's a recipe for disaster. So we have to take a look at
what are you saying, Joe? What are you saying? What are you saying? We got to support retardation, you know, and mental illness.
No, Joe. We got to recognize mental illness and call it mental illness. Everybody that's mental ill, if it's possible to get them treatment like any other disease, we're supposed to try to treat them for it. It's a disease. But this thing, we're now celebrating mental illness as something to be desired. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's, Sarge said it for me. You have to recognize it. You have to take a look at the foundational relationship between any of these Columbine shooters, etc., with their parents. my particular philosophy is if a boy or a girl, daughter, son, has a strong relationship with their parents, they can go to the parents about anything, and the parents can soothe them, find out if the kid maybe has some kind of mental problems, and see if they can give them treatment, but to find out what's wrong before it develops into, I hate the world. I got to strike back at the world. This is my particular philosophy about that, because
parents
you
aren't
have
allowed
strong
to
parents.
Go. But they're not allowed to.
They're not allowed.
I mean, a joke. Yeah.
They're not allowed to. They're not allowed to hit it as often as they used to, but they are allowed to sit down with the child and and try to find out what the hell's going on.
Well, yeah, that's just it. I mean, there's normal stages of treatment for mental illness you follow for any mental illness. We put this particular mental illness in a protected category. That's the problem.
As a candidate, Sarge. So as a candidate, Joe and Sarge, what do you recommend someone like me do? How do you introduce something like that to the legislators?
In the notion that there is something to be affirmed, and that's the word I'm using. You do not affirm mental illness. You recognize it. You take the necessary steps to cure the individual of their disease. You don't affirm it. And that calls for a recognition that that's what it is, and it's not merely intended to be some sort of cultural phase that finally needs recognition because it's been unjustly oppressed for thousands of years.
But now I'm a racist. Now I'm a racist.
Well, no.
You're going to have to tell the truth. Look, these people are anti-truth. You're just going to have to face the fact that's what they're going to do. And be prepared to counter.
And the perpetuation of this particular cultural inculcation of mental illness is being done in the universities when they're teaching children. If you watch the videos that are out there, like the man on the street, the student on the street, what's a man, what's a boy, what's a girl? Can a man get pregnant? Well, yes, a man can get pregnant. Excuse me. Now, that's what our teachers say. Now, it's been shown, even though you might have the chromosomes, yes, a man can get pregnant and a woman can piss sitting down. So we're having this, and we're turning our children into mental illness victims. They are now thinking with this particular mindset. This is the result or the prediction, either directly or indirectly, as a result of 1984, double speak, double think, and the example that I've given before with Estonia. I think it's Estonia, where the announcer says, we're at war with Estonia. We've been at war with Estonia for years. All of a sudden, it suddenly changes to, we are good friends of Estonia, need our help, or words to that effect.
Yeah.
And people go along with it.
That's a good damn point, Joe. Damn, that's a good point. Wow.
We've always been at war with East Asia. Yeah.
East Asia, okay. Yeah, we've always been at war with them, and now they're our friends. And people will be going along with that. We are, fellas, we are in the Matrix. I think all of us here knows that, realize it, but do we understand the significance of it? Okay?
No,
I hope so.
I leave it out there, and I'm throwing it out there for everybody else to take a pot shot at.
Well, this kind of thing, when you talk about something as fundamental, has what your sex is, that's almost as fundamental as a basic fact you're a human being. The two major divisions among human beings are not even racial, they're man and woman. That's what's most different generally between the various types of human beings. Man and woman is the most fundamental of distinction.
I consider myself a woman today, and if you say otherwise, you're hurting my feelings and you're being insensitive. That's how it's played out in society, and you'll be fired from your job.
Right. Think of what they're saying.
But what Sarge is saying is absolutely correct. How can you be more fundamental than man and woman? Unless you're an hermaphrodite, that is the most obvious distinction in nature for us as our species. Is it not?
Yeah.
It is. And think about it for a minute. Now, these people in their minds are literally at war with normal, healthy, biologically correct parts of their bodies. That is a clear sign of an inherent mental illness.
Yeah, Sarge. Yeah, all you got to do is go to these liberal chat rooms. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Let me just disagree for just 1 second with Sarge there. The reason why I'm disagreeing, not because you said anything wrong, is because he just didn't elaborate on it long enough, was the fact that when you're a child, because they did an experiment a few weeks ago, and when you're a child, you might think you're a girl, you might think you're a boy, you might want things as a girl, because, if you want the purple, not the purple, but purple nowadays, but if you want the pink crayons, maybe you're leaning towards being a girl. That's normal. As a child, you do not know what you want, and you're going with the flow, and you don't feel bad about it. But when the authority figures come in and say, you know what, hey Johnny, you shouldn't feel that way, you shouldn't think that way, you shouldn't look that way, because of this, and you're trying to conform their reality to the real reality, and you're trying to stop confusion, you're trying to make sense of it, that will cause, to a great extent, at least the inception of mental illness. And I land my plane.
Yeah. Well, real quick, when I was in high school, I was just thinking back when you were talking, Joe, when I was 13, 14 years old, I didn't have those second guesses because my friends and my peer pressure wouldn't have allowed me to have that second guess, and I guess you could say the room or the I don't know how to say it. I don't know. Just the crowd. The crowd control was that. Look, I'm a guy, girl, guy. We didn't have queers walking down the hallway going, I'm confused. It wasn't like that. But today you do. So how do we get back to that? I mean, what are we doing?
Yeah, but Joe, a certain amount of confusion is fundamental amongst children when they're growing up, particularly as they regard their gender. I mean, mama might let you clamp around in her high heels or something like that, and you might have your little sister and you're trying to wonder why she wears some things and you don't wear them, and why she's interested in things that you're not. And as an experimenting child, you go back and forth because that's part of becoming an adult. It's part of learning. So, yeah, it's not surprising there's a bit of gender mix and matching amongst very young children. I'm talking about pre-kindergarten maybe even kindergarten. Yeah. But for most children, it rapidly vanishes after kindergarten. And most people know they're male or female. And they don't ever look back until recently.
Yeah. Why?
Because they're encouraged. This is cultural Marxism. The whole point of all of this is to undermine the family and parents and to take away parental authority over your children. If you don't affirm your sexuality, you've got people in the state ready to seize your child from your custody. They're serious about this.
What are some of the major tenets of communism? Divide, conquer, chaos, right? To put it in a paraphrased way. So if you're going to confuse people about gender, you're going to confuse people about the rights of human beings. If you're going to confuse people about racism, sexuality, what's good, what's bad, etc., what have you got? You've got a divided, conquered nation from within. People who will become mentally ill because they're going to try to conform to what they think is right, or what is being right, or what is taught as right, rather, is being taught by the Marxists, as Sarge is explaining.
Hey. And Joe, think about this for a minute. Now look at this. Think about this. This is what's so beautifully ironic about it all. Look at true totalitarian states that actually make this philosophy part of their governing system. Like, for instance, Red China or the old Soviet Union. Not for a microsecond would they tolerate public displays of this kind of behavior because it harms, that radical individualism harms socialist discipline. They crack down upon it and they do not allow it. That's what's so amazingly ironic about it all. It is simply a tool for them to destroy the civilization that exists so they can replace it with a very totalitarian discipline that will eliminate all public vestiges of the thing these crazy people are bleeding about.
I got 907 here who's in the queue. They want to talk. Go ahead, 907.
Hey, guys. This is Boyd. Hey, listen. I only have one question that will allow them to convince me. Okay? All they have to do is produce one. Just one person with a dick that hasn't had a addictomy operation that has birthed a child. That's all I need. You show me one, and I'll accept your argument.
It's Sodom and Gomorrah. Yeah, if you show me one, I'm all for it too.
Do not
even hermaphrodites are usually infertile to some degree or other. They might have some of the vestigial sexual organs of one sex or the other, but oftentimes they're sterile.
Yeah. But do not ask for that, because there have been experiments, even as far back as a few years ago, where they're trying to make men pregnant. And you know that it will happen one day.
Oh, yeah, some Frankenstein will come up with it. What was their problem with Mengele again? I'm trying to figure out what kind of problem these people have with Joseph Mengele anyway. He didn't do anything this crazy.
Oh, man.
Lord have mercy, what are we experiencing today? And I mean, madness. And I got to say it. I'm sorry, but when it comes to this kind of insanity, I mean, look, Republicans are corrupt, but they're rationally corrupt oftentimes. It's kind of rational corruption we've seen ever since human beings figured out they could be corrupt. We're seeing a whole new level of utter insanity with leftists and Democrats. It's uncharacteristic of the normal kind of corruption.
That is today. But if the Republicans were in office today and they had control, they would do the same thing as per the directions, control, and influence of the globalists, the Marxists. It doesn't matter who's in office.
Yeah.
Well, I have yet to see, except for maybe that asshole Mitt Romney, anybody who made a public endorsement of the rampant crime rampage that went on in the Summer of Love in 2020. I didn't see any Republicans publicly endorsing. I mean, they might have turned a blind eye to it, a few of them, but the only people who were public endorsing it and encouraging it were Democrats.
That's true again, but they're in power now, and they have been for the past few years with Obama and, of course, now with Trump. Both with Biden, but let's not forget, Republicans always bragged. They always bragged about how with Obamacare that, we have to let it pass by the Democrats because that would show just how corrupt the Democrats are. And if we were in power, we would absolutely shut it down. What happened? Trump came into office. They had the power. Did they shut down Obamacare?
No.
Okay.
Yep. Good point, Joe. Good point.
Well, we know what that is. That's just a normal kind of paid-off corruption. Some kind of advantage they got from it, either in the form of outright cash money or some political or other advantage. That's within the normal realm of corruption. I'm talking about insanity-type corruption is something new. I mean, delusional, mad, crazy insanity corruption.
And the operative word you just used is new. However, if the Republicans were in power today, they would still follow the new and old Marxist philosophy. Because
you got to remember, though, Democrats, you also got the old type of corruption, too. So not only you got to put up with the old style of corruption, just pay for play and all that other stuff, you got to deal with this insanity, too. Oh, we're more secure with an open border. Yeah, they literally are telling us we're more secure with an open border. No Republican talks like that, even if they turn a blind eye to it for their corporatist friends who want cheap labor. Only Democrats talk like this.
That's because we're friends with East Asia, as opposed to East Asia.
I mean, it's just, oh, man. War is peace. Freedom is slavery.
Oh, well, yeah. The thing is,
you'll own nothing and you'll be happy, and that's the way you should want to live.
Well, that's the WEF for you. But the thing is that what you're saying by implication is that if the Republicans today were in office, okay, with what's going down, I think there's a quickening happening now with the New World Order probably coming to a head. You're assuming that the Republicans, a lot of other people who believe that the Republicans are really the better of the two evils, that if they were in control, that we would not have this kind of corruption we're having now. I tend to disagree.
You know what? I kind of agree with you, Joe. I kind of got to agree with you. I think our economy would be better off, you know?
It wouldn't be done any different than the rest of them. They'd be run right through the mud, and they'd be embarrassed or made to look like a bunch of idiots because they don't conform to power.
Yeah. Tape and Joe, you sound far away now. Maybe it's my phone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man, no, it's me. But Cave is always far away. Cave always does that. He sounds like he's in a Coke bottle, you know.
Hey, I'm coming back from playing at the beer room. I'm back from the beer room. Just give me a minute, and I'll dial it in.
Okay.
Joe, man, what's up with you, man? You're on point tonight, man. You're sounding them off. What have you been doing? You're studying?
No. I just found the difference of opinion with Sarge. Sarge, as you know, I've always said he's usually 98% correct, and he's not even correct with my being on. I mean, he's not even off point with my being on point. The thing is that he's right about the Democrats, except for the word only. My particular belief is that if the Republicans were in office today, we would still have the same type of corruption as the Democrats are performing. That's my only contention.
But we got to use common sense, Joe. Like Boyd said, just show me one transvestite or one of these with a penis that's been sewed on, make a child. Common sense. You can't reproduce. You're different. You're not a man. You're not a woman. You were born this way. That's what you are. It's common sense. If you want to be like that, that's fine. But don't go changing the laws of average or nature, saying I can do this now, because you can't.
I agree with you, except that be careful of what you ask for, because you just might get it. Like I said, they've been experimenting with making men pregnant, and once that happens, it's going to rush through all of academia. Look, here's the proof. It is not body dysphoria. It is not mental illness. A man has become pregnant. Therefore, any transgender now has the freedom to become pregnant.
By the way, I got an update for you on the Tranifesto. 7 Nashville police officers have been placed on administrative leave amid an investigation into how the manifesto of school shooter Audrey Hale leaked online. This is coming from the mayor of Nashville. And Nashville Police Department told a WSMV, that's a TV station in Nashville, that the officers were suspended after a probe into how 3 pages of notes written by Hale before she opened fire at the Covenant School in March. And so it's pretty much confirmed now, and now they're going after the cops who wanted us to know the truth.
Of course. The cops will never tell us the truth. One thing real quick, though, Sarge, I want to say something as me running for office here in North Carolina. I would like to also see, Joe, I'm adding to my platform, if the IRS investigates anyone, they audit anyone in my state, if they don't have any findings and they find no fault, then the IRS has to cover all legal and attorney fees and any losses that person incurs. I think there should be some legislation sponsored like that. What do you think?
I like that, and there is a show that comes on fairly frequently on Black Talk Radio about a guy who preaches and teaches how, since there is no law about the IRS, and the federal income tax, he says he hasn't paid taxes in years, and he teaches people how you can avoid paying taxes legally, and I think it's called Legal, I forget the name of the show, but it's on all the time. And Lorianne has a guest that comes on, that has been on, and he hasn't paid taxes in years, following his thing. I don't know if it's similar to what this Black Talk guy preaches, but look it up in the search engine. IRS don't pay taxes.
I'm going to put it out there. I asked Lorianne if she would be willing to help me out with my campaign, and she hasn't gotten back to me yet. So. And maybe she's afraid. I don't know. I don't know. What's the reason? I mean, I don't think she works full time, though. You know, I just thought I'd pay her, of course, you know, out of the campaign. I'd have to pay her out of the campaign. I'm not allowed to pay her out of my pocket because I don't think you're allowed to do that with the campaign finance rules here in North Carolina. So it has to be out of the committee, my nonprofit committee. But you know, because I need people. I need people to help me out with the phones, with organizing stuff. I mean, there's no reason why you can't do that, you know, over the internet and through the computer, you know, through this technology we have today. You don't have to be living next door to me now. You know, you have to be on my campaign. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think you, I, and Lori Ann should have a private conversation about your campaign.
Okay.
Yeah, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Hey, Joe.
Yeah,
sir. Joe.
Joe who? Joe
Make sure that you put in his platform that he is pro-abortion all the way up until 6 months after birth. That'll get him elected. No,
I like that.
Hey,
I like that.
Listen,
yeah, right?
I'm damn serious. You can say that type of shit and get elected.
Yeah.
You know?
No, you're right. You're right.
And then turn around and be the regular politician that they have, because you've lied to get in.
Yeah. Switch my words around, right?
Oh, man.
But you're a good lie.
You know what disturbs me is that women, the mothers are going along with that. They think that they should have the right to kill their child after birth and call it either stillbirth or certainly legal abortion. That is sickness.
It's sad.
Okay,
it's sickness,
that
man.
is sickness. All right.
Yes. Our women are sick out there today. Our women are sick. I don't know if there's any women listening right now, but.
Hey, I bet you there's a lot of people out there right now that wish abortion was legal until 25.
Why? I don't know. How come?
Huh?
How come?
Well, the way their kids have turned out, they need to be aborted.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
because
you know,
we need more wire coherenters.
It's sad with the way our society is turning out. It's scary. I mean, look at our
Anybody know what Greta Thunberg is right now?
She's been humiliated a few months ago. Greta Thunberg.
Yeah, she ain't 25 yet, is she?
I don't know 25. I think she's only about 17, isn't she?
Okay, well there you go. I think she's reached legal age of majority. I don't know if it's 21, but I know she ain't a little teenager anymore.
Yeah, I know here, and anyone who's listening, we're going into overtime in 1 minute and 30 seconds. So you know how Blog Talk's been screwing around. So if you guys want to call in, I know there's a lot of people listening on the internet because you guys messaging me on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
All right. Yep, 90 seconds. I just got the tune right there. So they may even just cut us off after 90 seconds. Who knows? I don't know. But call in 657-383-0616. Press 1. But yeah, we had a massive shooting here in Greensboro this past week. Actually, one of our first big major shooting. Oh yeah, shot the whole freaking plaza up. Yep. Yeah, bad. It was real bad. I'm surprised they didn't make national news. Didn't even make national news really. So, but it was bad. Yeah. Mother and daughter killed.
What was it? A black kid shooting up other black kids?
No. It was at a restaurant, kind of bar and grill, sports bar and grill, and guy just started shooting the place up and killed a mother and daughter, injured about 7 other people, and then they like 500 rounds of ammunition, just kept shooting. And they played it live on the news, and it was crazy. But that's how bad it's getting. You know, I mean, and that's right where I go eat. Well, I eat in that area. I'm always up in that area, so that's hitting close to home. You know,
hope you have concealed carry, because there was a video about a guy who was almost robbed. He turns around and starts shooting at the guy that was attempting to rob him. And that's what we need. We need.
North Carolina's open carry.
Concealed carry. Open carry.
Yeah, North Carolina's open carry. Yeah, we're open carry here in North Carolina.
But you don't want to. You really don't want to open carry.
You don't think so? I mean, everybody open carries around here. I open carry all the time.
If you open carry, you might as well paint a target on your back.
He's got
they don't look at you like that around here. Not around here.
No, he's
not around here.
No, he's talking about the perpetrators. He's talking about the people who, if you're carrying, then they'll shoot you in the back. If you're not carrying, they don't know if you have something or not, and maybe you might have a shot. Maybe you might have a shot.
In the wintertime, you're not supposed to, but in the wintertime, like your coat it'll overlap my side or whatever. Sometimes I'll put it on my back, so if people don't see it, I'll cover up with my shirt. I don't care. I carry everywhere. But, whatever they do, gun freeze, I don't care if it's gun freeze. I'm still carrying. I don't care. Nobody says anything around here. That's what's good. That's good. We're pretty pro Second Amendment in my area.
Second Amendment. There we go. Good.
Yeah.
Just like Montana.
Yeah. So,
hey,
but you go ahead.
Speaking of guns, I just found out, last night, what the world's biggest air rifle is?
No.
Winchester B&B.
This is an air rifle. This is like a pellet gun. This thing shoots 1,000 PSI. 1,000.
Really?
It shoots a slug big as a 12-gauge shotgun. It's called
an air rifle.
It's a 76 caliber rifle.
Yeah.
76.
It's air.
Wow.
And it's air. It's 1,200
PSI.
PSI.
Around the 76
That's got a big ass tank on that sumbitch, and you got to have an air compressor to compress that sumbitch.
Is it like that movie No Country? Was it No Country for Old Men or something? Remember that movie or whatever? Where I forgot the guy from from U.S. Marshals. That old movie where that guy goes around and he found some money or whatever at a drug deal, and then the guy's hunting him and he's got that air gun. He shoots through the doorknob and everything. Anybody see that movie?
No.
I forgot the name.
Here's the link to it in the chat room. There it is right there. Boy, it's a bad
Tommy Lee Jones. Tommy Lee Jones. It's with Tommy Lee Jones. You guys got to check it out. It's a really cool movie, man.
Yeah. That thing
like $1,400.
Actually used to kill cattle. That's how they put that up.
Really?
Against
yeah, exactly. Yep, you're right, Dave. Yep.
Crazy. But he uses it to blow out door locks and stuff.
Is that really how they kill cattle? They shoot them in the head with that thing?
Speaking of guns and stuff, I watched a video last night, and this guy has the quietest rifle in the world. And he demonstrated it with a whole bunch of other rifles. Plus, he demonstrated it with his regular 22 caliber pellet gun. And that thing is quiet. That was down quieter than the Hollywood silenced weapons, and it was a 300 mag.
Damn.
Huh. Wow. I got a guy from Texas. I got a guy from Texas actually. He's very pro Second Amendment. He's a militia guy. And he's asking me a bunch of questions about the militia and everything. I don't know if anybody knows who he is, but I might have met him. Matter of fact, Cave, I think we might have met him on the militia call. I think it was Nick, maybe. It might have been Nick in Texas. He's down there in Texas.
Yeah, he was on there.
He's with the. Yeah, it might be him. I don't know. I didn't ask him because I didn't want to get personal. Because I don't get personal with those guys when they message me. Because I know a lot of militia guys that I don't ever ask. Not on social media anyway. But he was talking to me and I think it's him. And I don't know if it's him or not. But he was putting a lot of pro Second Amendment stuff up about where I stood on it and everything. And so when I was like, if it's him from that video, you should know. But he was telling me that there's a candidate in Texas that's running, that's a militia guy that wants to reinstate the militia down there and everything. So I don't know if Gunslinger knows who he is or not. I don't know. But
there's there's a documentary, I forget the name of it, that I recommend to you, Joe, because it's a guy that has resembled your life. It follows a guy who infiltrated the cartel, I think it was. I forget the name. Shit. If I come across it again, you can look it up on Tubi, Tubi, Tubi TV. It's a streaming platform. And he's got your life. I mean, you might want to have him on as a guest. You got something?
Well, you got to tell me what the name of the movie was. What's the name of the movie?
I forget the name. But if you go to Tubi and you put in the search engine, Infiltrator, several movies will come up something similar to that. Infiltrator.
Really? All right. All right, I'll check it out. I tried White Boy Rick. I tried to get a hold of White Boy Rick from Detroit, and he won't answer. He won't answer me. He won't answer me. You know, I tried it. We got him on Facebook, Twitter, and he just won't. And he's been on there since I messaged, but I don't know why he won't answer me. So maybe he's just out partying. I don't know, because he seems like he's out partying. I heard he got in trouble, arrested down in Florida. So, you know, who knows?
If I remember, I'll write up something that you can send to him next time. It will describe who you are. You know, it might pique his interest a little bit more. Instead of saying, I don't know what you wrote to him, but if you say, I would enjoy having you on my show because other people could learn about you. And instead, I would write up something like, I am a person who had infiltrated the Latin Kings, rose to the rank of president, was a former DEA agent, put people behind bars, know about your situation, saw your documentary, and would really enjoy having you come on the show. Well, now you know what to say. I don't have to write it.
Yeah. Well, you know, that's and that's I don't like talking about that stuff, but that type of life's over.
No?
They actually,
but
no, I'll do it. I'll do it for something like that because he was a victim, you know, but then again, he may be intimidated. You know, he may say, well, he was a former guy that worked with them, maybe, you know, and people sometimes think that, you know, I'm out to, you know, rat on them, you know, and that's not true. You know, I'm out for you guys, you know. I just don't like drugs, man. What's that?
Mazur. He infiltrated Pablo Escobar stuff.
Are you on Tubi?
Yeah, I'm on Tubi too. I can't find nothing.
No, right? Okay. If you're on Tubi, just click Explore. Explore will be down at the bottom of the screen. Click Explore, and it will give you the search engine.
Yeah, you got me thinking now.
Yeah. Now, inside the search engine, just type in infiltrator or infiltrators and see what pops up. You will have a series of videos that they have there. You have to search through them. Then they're not going to just come up there and just be on your doorstep. You know,
well, it's not on Amazon Prime or anything like that. So it's on Amazon Fire or Roku. Maybe I don't know. I can't find a search. I can't find a search thing. I can't find Explore. I can't find nothing. Browse maybe.
This here says let me tell you, Robert Mazur was a federal agent, but not with the FBI.
That guy, yeah. He's one of them. He's one of them.
The United States Customs Service and was part of the Drug Enforcement Agency, and he pulled off one of the biggest undercover operations infiltrating Pablo Escobar's Colombian drug cartel for 2 years. Yeah.
What was his name?
Robert Musi, I think it is, isn't it?
Robert Musella.
Musella, yeah.
Huh. I don't remember that guy from back then. Huh. I know they had. Well, you didn't infiltrate Pablo Escobar in 2016, I'll tell you that. That was 1991, 92. Oh, when it came out. Oh. Yeah, but everybody that was involved in that, we know from back then. I mean, it was that George Young. He was the one that was one of his first pilots. Carlos Slater. You know, pretty much all the players. Man, I think a lot of people cling to his name sometimes. You know, I wonder about that. You know, what's that other guy? Barry Steele. Anybody hear of Barry Steele? He was in one. Barry Steele. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure.
This guy's talking about. This guy actually brought these guys in from the cartels up to New York City and got them involved with the stock market, and they were chasing the money, not the drugs.
Really?
Yeah, so they were trying
Wow.
to form that to round them up, get them from where they were buying the stock exchange and $320 billion.
Yeah, Frank Teasy, the mafia guy, he was big on that with the gas. He had a big gasoline scam in the Northeast. Oh yeah, he was huge.
You know what? He acts like kind of a tough guy now. That all of a sudden after he got out of jail or whatever, but he didn't. He always says, "Well, I didn't rat on nobody." Well, I'll tell you what, you ought to keep your mouth shut because you won't be talking. Your little Sammy the Fool gets a hold of you, he's going to twist your head off.
His dad lived to be 102 years old. His dad, he was one of the most hardcore guys in Brown, man. I heard of his dad. One of my buddies knew his dad. I never met him, but he was well known in the Northeast.
I think he did a lot of time in Sing Sing. I think he was in Sing Sing for a long time, and that guy didn't say nothing about nobody.
I know. There was a lot of guys that were straight up hardcore guys that took their weight and did what they were supposed to do. You can respect that, I mean, but then again, some of the guys were dirty, man, dirty. It was kill or be killed, man. Just dirty, They just kill each other for no reason.
Of course.
Yeah.
Look,
can't
there's no such thing as honor amongst thieves and murderers. They will kill you if they think you're a rat.
Yeah. I mean, geez, nobody was your friend. Nobody.
Of course
I
not.
mean, my best buddy was supposed to be watching my back. Look what happened to me. Cut my head off almost. I mean, where the hell were you?
Any type of documentary you ever watch about the mob, almost every single one of the guys that are in the movie that are portraying the person, they think they're going to go meet the boss or whoever, and have this sit-down meeting, or they're going to get made or whatever. They end up getting killed by their best friend because they turn on them. Almost all of them.
And if you watch Donnie Brasco, Al Pacino knew he was going to get killed, and he still went to the meeting.
That's down, yeah.
And he still went.
Yeah. Yep. They cut Sonny.
You never want to get called by the boss.
Sonny, they cut his hands off. Imagine that, cutting your hands off. Wow, man. That's gotta be bad.
When Pacino told him to pull over on the side of the bridge going down the highway, and he started getting up underneath the dash of that brand new Cadillac, trying to see if he had a wire in there. And he's trying to get to the radio. He's like, "What are you doing? It's a brand new car."
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that.
You know what the worst way to go is? I think the worst way to go is you're in a barrel and they seal the top of the barrel off and they throw you in the ocean. Man,
you got to suffocate.
Man. Wow. What happened to what's his face there? What's the guy that they said buried under Yankee Stadium? What the hell was his name there? The guy that Hoffa. Yeah. They never found him, man. I wonder what ever happened to him. They cut him up into pieces, but I'm just saying, I wonder what happened to him. Nobody knows for sure.
Gravano says he talks about it.
With what was his name? Nicholson.
Sammy the Bull talked about it.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey, he makes
Sammy the Bull knew everything.
He makes a statement, Hoffa, that I use all the time, and it's perfect because when they put him up, and he's going to stand on stage right after the union elections, and he hands that little piece of paper to, I think it was DeVito, and he says, "There's a list of names," and he goes, "On Monday morning, fire every one of these sons of bitches." And the guy looks at him, he's got a whole list there, and he goes, "Why?" And he goes, "Because then the rest of the people know that they trust you." He goes, rest of everybody knows they're going to get their heads are coming down. It's not a few people off; they all fall in line after that.
It's a rough way to live, man. It's a rough way to live.
I know.
A lot of people,
those people grew up during hard times, though, Joe. They grew up during different times.
Yeah, well, you can take a look at their situations. You can take a look at how they developed. They still committed crimes. They still made the bad choices.
Yeah,
it was
that's true.
The guys who were driving most of the time. It was just against another. It would have been another Teamster had they not joined just a non-union guy, basically, because they were at war with them guys.
Yeah. Strong arm them. Up in Connecticut, down to like, I don't know where you guys are at, but up in Connecticut, unions are strong up there. You have to, like, if you work, like when I was a kid, I've got a job at Stop and Shop grocery store. I had to join the union. You have to. They make you. If you don't join the union, they won't talk to you. So it's still like that. You got to be part of the union.
It broke that pretty much. Unless you're a longshoreman, maybe.
Well, the unions do suck, Joe. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
The unions suck. They're not for the rank and file. They're not for the rank and file. They take orders.
No.
They take orders from the mob and from the lobbyists, just like everybody else.
Right. Yep. Corruption. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Because they didn't do nothing for you. But they didn't offer you nothing. No. I mean, they're talking about.
They stole the goddamn money from it. If everybody had a pension and you had hundreds of thousands of members, you had all this money in your pension fund, and all of a sudden now they're filing bankruptcy because the corrupt bastards stole it all.
Yeah, they do not
like
look out for the rank and file. Yeah, just like the politicians. So the unions suck. Now if they. Yeah. Now I'm interested in what happened with the Hollywood strike, the Writers Guild. I think they did a good thing. In the collective bargaining and limiting AI, because AI would come in and just destroy their jobs.
Really? That's a problem. I don't think people realize how bad it's going to be, where people can just act like, you can see AI and they're taking their voices and they're duplicating them. I mean, already all kinds of stuff out there with Joe Biden where he's talking and the guy's sitting there, it's him. It looks just like him. It sounds just like him, and he's talking normal. And he's like, "You guys ain't nothing but a bunch of dumb bastards. I can't believe you idiots followed Trump." And the guy's talking, but it ain't Joe Biden because he's a stumbling, mumbling Mr. Potato Head.
Yeah, but he's still got that kind of mindset, though, because you can read his speeches on the floor where he's all for the New World Order. On the floor.
Oh, yeah.
He's talking.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. You will rule on that. Talking about the microchip, You will rule on that. Mark my words. Yeah. He was big time on the New World Order. He still is. Dirtbag, Obama, all of them.
It's his wife running the show.
What do we do about, Trump? Everyone's talking about Trump, but, really when you think about it, some people are making some good points today. Trump gets back in there for 4 years. Really, can he reverse all this and make them? What can he do? Because they asked him some hard questions today, like, well, how are you going to change the things and get back to the good economy? What? He didn't really answer the question. What can he really do? Secure the borders, okay.
I'm not for Trump. I am not for Trump. Okay. Nope. Was he a good president? Absolutely. He was one of the better presidents in the 21st century. Okay. Cannot deny what he was doing for America. But when he still got out and he's still advocating for the vaccine, which is a bioweapon, which already has wiped out millions of people, he's not my boy anymore.
Yeah, I guess. Well, could he just been deceived?
Like he said he was going to do. If he had locked up Hillary Clinton, I think things would have been a lot different. A lot more people would have been pissed off what they have been doing to Trump if he just stood by. Sure, he did a lot of things. 70-some% of his projections or what he wanted to do, he accomplished. But he said he would lock her up. He didn't lock that bitch up. He should have.
Gunslinger made some good points earlier. Yeah, but Gunslinger made some good points earlier. He said, look, Trump, say what you want about him, but, he did do a lot of what he said, and the country was in good shape when he was president,
In good shape. Look at the gas prices. Look at the gas prices then. Look at the supply chain. We wasn't at war with nobody, and Trump was buddy with Rocket Boy and Pootie Putin, and everything was going good. Military loved him. Law enforcement.
He surprised me because I thought
the complex can't have a president like that where he's got control over the world, where he has everybody at bay and there's not a war going on, because then they're not making any money. They've got to be at war. They have to be.
You are absolutely right. Absolutely right.
That's why they all hated him.
That's why they all hated him.
Yeah. Now Trump did, to his credit, I didn't vote for him because I thought of him as a megalomaniac. I didn't want his finger on the red button. But he did not get us into additional wars, and he did try to mediate for the Middle East. But is that a precursor for what's happening now? I do not trust the guy.
I don't either.
Yeah,
I think right now, if he's going to get locked up, he's going to run right to Israel. He just won't fit
Look, if Trump was still in the office right now, there wouldn't be all that shit over there because Trump is a negotiator. I mean, look how he calmed, Rocket Boy over in North Korea, and look how he calmed Putin. Okay, it's better to be friends with your enemies than to go World War III. At any time. I don't care what it is.
I think at the end of the day, they all sit down at the same dinner table. It's just real long when they all sit around and bullshit together, and they're just going to see who's going to play next week's story.
I'm going to have to differ with you a little bit. I think they're all under control of the New World Order, and the New World Order wants the conflict between them in order to create the global divide. So I'm going to disagree with you, Dave, on that one.
I'm going to say what I've said 100 times.
Hang on, Dave, hang on. Gunslinger's talking. Go ahead, Gunslinger, go ahead.
I'm going to say one thing that I've said 100,000 times now. Did you see God on the ballot in 2016 or the other one? I didn't.
That's right. That's right. Nobody's perfect.
Nobody's perfect. I mean, can you imagine this country if Comrade Clinton got in there? Oh my God!
Well, you're talking right there. You're right about that. I'll go after Dave.
What are we going to do if Obama's? What are we going to do if Big Mike gets in there? Michelle.
Michael.
Yeah. I'm going to put her on.
It'll be just as bad.
It's just as bad.
He'd have a lot of firsts. Big Mike would have a lot of firsts to claim.
Well, yeah.
The first president, the first black woman president, the first black tranny.
Yeah.
The first gay.
And it'd be
I don't support that JFK no more. I don't support that asshole JFK after he said he wants reparations. He wants us to pay all reparations. No, I don't want that guy no more.
RFK said that. Is that right?
Big Mike's going to have Obama step in as the vice president, and he can do it.
Yeah.
He could. Yes, he could.
Yes,
well, I mean, he can't be elected president anymore, but he can be the vice president.
He can be appointed vice president.
No thanks. I don't want him. He lost my support. He could take his squealing ass someplace else.
I'm all for it. Push the red button, end it all if they get in. Just somebody give me a loaded gun. Let me play Russian roulette with a loaded 6-cylinder. The hell with it.
No, we don't want that now, Dave. Come on now.
Okay, if they get in office, I'm taking myself out.
I'll tell you what, and I said this before, if it comes down to so-called nuclear warfare, I hope it's not limited. I hope it is a full-blown burn the entire Earth up in 1 second, because I would rather die in a split second of a nuclear fusion blast than to survive a nuclear winter.
Right, exactly. I was going to say, the fallout and live through that shit.
Yeah.
Good God.
I'm scared. I'm scared of death. I'll be honest with you. As many times I've seen death, I'm afraid of death, to be honest with you. I kind of want to live now. When I was younger, I didn't care. But now I kind of hey, I want to live,
I'd like to stick around a little while longer, Fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, shit.
Yeah, we all, of course, we would all love to live, but I mean, we're just talking about how we would choose our particular death.
Demise?
I would choose split second nuclear fission or nuclear fusion, whichever H bomb they want to use, and burn me up in 1/2 a second, or even less, as opposed to what Dave was going to talk about, the nuclear fallout. I don't want any nuclear winter for me. Good God, hell no.
It'd be in your water and all your food. You can't even imagine.
Ooh.
It would be just used. You couldn't do nothing with it.
They say it won't be that bad. They say we can actually do a lot of good cleanup and stuff, and we can actually survive. They got fans and big fans and stuff that seed the atmosphere. That's what they say anyway. So,
I believe it wouldn't be that bad. That's why the nuclear winter over there, what happened in the meltdown they had in Ukraine before at Chernobyl. Now they got 3-eyed fish flying around that you can eat. They probably get up, stand up, and talk to you.
Well, don't leave out Fukushima. Fukushima.
Yeah.
It's still fucking you.
Yeah, what happened with that? Yeah, what happened with Fukushima?
But I don't want
They've kept it quiet. I don't eat, I shouldn't eat tuna. I shouldn't eat tuna as a result of Fukushima, but I forget about it. I have to remind myself not to eat tuna or any kind of fish, actually. Because
but
of
am I
Fukushima.
right about this if I say when you have a nuclear facility that goes into a meltdown like it does, and they have the incidents that they've had, haven't they predicted that all the ground and everything around it will be useless for hundreds of thousands of years? Well, then explain
That's
this
right.
to me. If you see
That's
Chernobyl,
right.
it looks like the Amazon. It looks like the fucking Amazon over there. Everything's growing faster, bigger, different. Whatever they told us is a complete bullshit lie. Because if it's supposed to be dead for hundreds and 100,000 years, I must have been sleeping for a few days.
Well, they're talking about the Walking Dead. What you're saying, what you're referring to, Dave, are the mutant plants, the mutant trees, the mutant fish.
Yeah,
they're the Walking Dead. They're the zombies.
You'd be surprised at the nature, how nature could look at the Gulf Coast after the oil spill. Look at it; it's perfectly clean down there now. You know.
Is it?
That's what I heard. I heard it's all cleaned up.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Anybody been down there? That's what I heard. I haven't been down there, but I heard it's cleaned up because we had how many hurricanes now? So they say it's all cleaned up. You know.
Some of the oil spills we've had are so big, you wouldn't think that shit would go away. You think you would see it forever, but
I don't believe any of the media. If they're saying that any disaster has been cleaned up, I don't believe it. I just think they're covering up.
Yeah. Well, nature's pretty powerful, Joe. You know, the ocean is a big place. The ocean is pretty deep, man. That's a never-ending pit. Some places in the ocean. You know.
Yeah, that's true too. Hey, have you heard about the one section of the ocean that has no oxygen and no fish can live in that? It's like the Bermuda Triangle, practically. No fish can live in this particular section. Yeah.
Have you guys seen that huge amount of massive? It looks like seaweed. It moves around down by the Bermuda Triangle. They believe that that's what's causing all the problems. It's the methane or the gas that's trapped below that. I guess them things, this area stuff sprouts up like dandelions in the morning. You know, them things pop up everywhere, bang, 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 all over, and they can't control it. They don't know how it does what it does. And then it's gone for 2 days.
Well, if I ever get rich, if I ever get rich, $10, $15 million, that's my goal. I'd like to buy a little island out there. They're for sale. And you could buy like a 60, 70 acre island. I'd like to buy that. You guys will all be invited, man.
Yeah, I've thought of that myself. That's right.
Have an island party. Here you go.
Well, I'm going to get off now because my app is getting used to.
Well, it's up to you. Yeah, we'll probably another 10 minutes or so. We'll probably be wrapping it up. So it's probably cutting me off anyway. So, but all right, Joe. Thanks for participating tonight. I appreciate it.
Sure. See you guys later. Be safe.
All right, Joe.
Bye-bye.
Go ahead, Dave. You're always yakking over people. Go ahead.
My phone's on some delay because I'm just now getting into the solar system again.
Oh yeah. Well, like I said, I've been looking at those islands, and I think that shit's beautiful, man. Those islands that they got for sale out there, some of them are pretty cheap. You get them for a couple $100,000,
So what are you going to do for electricity and whatnot? Because I mean, if you're trying to buy let's say you buy Easter Island of all places, right? What are you going to do? I mean, what are you going to do during a hurricane or typhoon?
Well, Gunslinger's the electrician here. Talk to me, Gunslinger. What do we do?
Hey, I'm a retired master electrician, electrical engineer. I could give you power, no doubt.
There you go.
Anywhere.
See that? He can get his power.
One big tsunami wipes us all out.
Well, we can't. Well, I can't live like that, paranoid all the time. Shit. At least we'll be on paradise, you know.
I think they're living on an
Get some
island
women.
out there.
Get about a dozen women out there, you know, bikinis. You know, hey, well, you know, a couple of let's build a few little, you know, condos out there. Man, it's nice, man.
We'll start our own race.
Oh, here you go. You man. No Jews, right?
It's the non-Jews that are the problem. It's the Zionists, the ones that claim that they're the Jews. They're not the Jews.
You know what? When you're out there, you know you're not going to care. I'll be honest. You know what I mean?
No.
The world, you ain't going to give a crap. There'll be so much to do. You know, there'll be so much to do after realize. You know, I mean, it's just like being out in the wild, being out in the mountains. You know, camping. There's always something. You know, you got to be. You know, when you're camping, you got to build a fire. You know, living off the land. There's always something to do.
Like them guys that go out on them islands and they by themselves and not with nothing but their pecker in their hand. They don't have a knife or nothing.
Well, you know, you could do what? Remember that show, Art Bell? Remember him? I think he's dead now. Yeah, he was out and pranked up coast to coast. Yeah, coast to coast. Remember that show that he did? You know, he was a big radio ham operator. Okay. And out there in Nevada, I think where he lived, he had this huge antenna system set up. It was like a single wire that ran around his entire property on poles, single bare wire. And I remember listening to that show that night, and he said I was fixing to hook up my ham radios and everything, because he had a huge fucking room, but just nothing but ham radios and everything. He said I grabbed that coax cable, and that son of a bitch knocked me across the room. And he went over and got his voltage tester and put that on that coax cable, and there were 300 volts DC on that single wire. Single wire. 300 volts DC. Wow. So don't tell me that's Tesla's technology. Tesla figured that out. That's part of Tesla's technology.
You know who sold
Tesla? You get on that bare island out there and just put your wire all the way, you know, around a couple acres. Hell, you have all the fucking power you want. Wind generator, solar.
That's right. That's something from Tesla. And you know whose grandfather was involved in that information being taken and not provided to the people? Trump's grandfather. Believe it or not.
No way.
Trump's grandfather actually emptied out the hotel room that Tesla was living in when he died. He was in charge of taking the papers from his safe and stuff, and they were moving it to somewhere. And those papers with the death ray and some other stuff come up missing, and he's a direct line to what happened with that. I swear to God, look it up.
Wow.
Trump's father.
It's interesting, man. Wow.
Yep.
Well,
interesting.
Well, like I said, guys, you know, in 3 weeks it's my filing, so I'm going to be filing for the North Carolina House of Representatives. So if you guys got any ideas, anything you want to see, like, you know, any ideas, I know you're not in my state, most of you, but, you know, if you got any suggestions or whatever, then just please tell me. You know, I'm always open to suggestions.
I would say this right now. If you're looking for a platform to run on, as pissed off as so many Americans are, you're starting to see Matt Gaetz and several of these other guys defund Israel, defund the Ukraine, do not send them another dime. The more Congress will stop shipping off money, that things are problems here in America that we can fix we could fix America 5 times over with the money we just sent to Ukraine.
Oh, hell yeah. Easy.
Stop sending bastards money when we have our own problems until we are at least at par or a little better that can do that. Not while we're in recession, not while we're hurting, not while we're suffering. None of that shit. You can't donate you don't have just because you print it. Somebody will come along the line to get that one out.
You know, I'm all for helping people, don't get me wrong, but it's America first. Americans first.
Yeah. We don't have America. We're fucked. We don't have a thing. We have nothing then. We have nothing. And we're giving it away. We are giving it away. That's right. Gunslinger's 100% right.
Yep. To give the shit away and give all that, when we pulled out of, what was that country over there and left all that military hardware over there, tanks and helicopters, Afghanistan, machine guns, ammunition. Boy, they got a deal, let me tell you. Them fuckers over there got a deal.
It would have been more expensive to bring it back. Really? Would it have been? No, because what they want to do is they have to get rid of the old stock. That's why they give all the Ukraine our old ammunition and whatnot, because the military industrial complex, those people have got to make new stuff. It's just like Joe will be able to tell you when you get in there, Joe. If you get a grant or you get funding for a specific whatever it is, let's say roads, you get some money to do some work on the roads. If you don't use that money, you don't get it next year. Same thing with the military complex. If you don't use up your weapons, you can't go make new ones. You can't have a surplus that it's so overstocked because you just want to make new. You have to get rid of the old. That's why they do it.
Well, we got to be strong, though. We got to spend money on our military. We got to stay strong. We got to clean. We have to. That's a must.
You got to admit that Trump did rebuild the entire military. At the time, we was the greatest military in the entire planet, entire history, for that matter. And remember, the military loves him. The law enforcement loved him. Shit. Even the local sheriff here, I asked him and his deputies, who are you going to vote for in 2016? Trump.
Right.
Yeah.
You got Janet Yellen.
Well, you like them.
Yeah. Janet Yellen tells everybody in the world that we can go on a two-front war and have that ability. You know what? We might have been able to do that. We might have been able to fight two different wars with Trump in office, but now that it's weak as the military is, and the transgender bullshit and the dumbing down, and they have to make all the new, you don't only have to do, let's say you had to do 50 push-ups. They change it now. You can have to do 10, maybe 5.
Yeah.
And you're a bunch of fat slobs anymore.
No, there's no backbone. All they let these trans freak thingies, whatever you want to call them, into there, and what do you expect? It degrades the military. If you're a big dog breeder of a purebred dog breeder, would you let your local mutt come in there and mate with your fucking purebreds? No.
Wow, fuck your pit bulls.
No.
That's it. Look at that freak they got up there, that fucking one with the hair that looks like the mad scientist from Independence Day with the long gray curly hair. I forget what that fucking thing is. The transgender one.
That's what it was, damn.
You know what I'm talking about? I think he or she's the one that's the God dang it! What the heck is? It's a dude, but it claims to be a woman, and then it's got that real long gray hair and wears black glasses. Fucking something of the state. I don't know. She's part of whatever. She just got nominated for a bunch of shit. She ain't got no military experience whatsoever, except maybe playing with little green men on the desk. That's it.
She dressed up. Yeah. No, I know the one. Yeah.
Great seniors. God damn, what's her name?
You guys got me.
What's it called? Levine? Is that it? Rachel? No, that ain't it. Levine. It makes it sick because all the good generals, they've already said it. When Trump left, they knew that there was going to be a problem because the generals that were in power, they were trying to force those guys out, the big four, because I think there's 4,000 total 4-star generals. And I think now almost over a third of them had left and retired because they did not want to deal with this shit. And the lack of leadership has now spun into where you have these fat kids and everything's made. They've been the rules for them. They don't make them tough. Better hope to God they don't go to war against the North Koreans. There are like that. Fuck. You're 10 to 12. You have to serve 10 to 12 years in the military in the North Korea.
Out of here.
Women,
you're not in America.
Women have to serve 10 and 12. Men have to serve 12 in North Korea. It's a law.
We don't want that here in America.
12-year-old girls and boys over in Russia and Ukraine and I think I want to say almost Iran too, where they're teaching them in school how to tear down an AK-47 and put it back together, where our kids are being taught to read out of a faggot rainbow book. Unbelievable. They've made this country look like a pile of shit and so vulnerable that the only reason we haven't been invaded yet from the Canadian side by China or coming from the southern border, all of them, is because all of us have guns. That's the only reason.
The only reason. Yep.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Remember what that Jap general said when they bombed Pearl Harbor. He was interviewed later, the admiral, whatever the fleet was, and he was asked the same question. He said, "What? Well, you was there at Pearl Harbor. Why did you just come on into the mainland?" He said, "Because there would have been a gun between every blade of grass."
Every blade of grass.
Right.
That's right.
What a great, it's true. Very true.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's very true. I mean, you got to be a fool to invade America. You got to be a fool.
Yeah,
I mean,
you got to be a fool.
You know what they're doing, Joe? They are invading America because they're doing it through politics now, where they're trying to do these false flag school shooting bullshit stories and trying to get people so upset with the guns that they want legislature to come in and say, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to write these laws now. We're going to take the guns, just like they did with the pistol brace for the arm, because I've got a short barrel rifle like that has a pistol brace. Now, if you remove that pistol brace and make the gun okay, 10 years ago when I bought this gun, it was legal. In one night, the ATF decided they were going to go ahead and make this an illegal firearm to have because they knew so many of them were out there. Then it was a felony, and a lot of people didn't even know it. It became a felony overnight, and ATF never went to Congress. They didn't pass a law. They made the law. They pushed it up and said, now if you own this pistol brace gun, you're a felon. If you're caught with it, you're going to do a minimum 5 years and a $25,000 fine, and then they increased it, and then they went back and forth. I finally think the Supreme Court has told them, you got to pound salt with that because you can't say that you can do it this way one time and then retract it just because of the amount that was sold. Yeah. And there's no benefit really to it. It doesn't improve the gun any way except stability for someone that's actually immobile or has a hard time maybe on a bad arm or hand. It's basically for someone that was injured, or couldn't hold a gun up by themselves. They had the pistol brace. So they shorten the barrel and whatever. They make it sound like that's what everybody's running around with. There's more fucking people shooting people with handguns in Chicago than anywhere else in the world. They don't address that. They want us to say guns. Military.
Well, that's the first knee-jerk reaction. Okay, it's the gun. The gun did it. It's alive. Your gun is alive. It's living. It can bleed. It can breathe. It can do all this. It can fuck. It can do all kinds of things. It can even reproduce itself. I'll be damned.
Well, I know one thing. I'm looking at mine. It's sitting right here next to me. They ain't paid its fucking taxes in a while.
Yeah, there you go. See?
I mean,
I'm trying. Mine's on my side right now, and I'm trying to tell it, "Jump out, motherfucker! Jump out!" Not doing it. Bam.
It's the honest God's truth. It's the lack of people that own guns that have them in homes like these broken homes. It all comes back. It seems like it always funnels back to these homes that are broken with no father figure. Where if you did have somebody teach their son and daughter how to shoot, it would be usually the father. Take them outside, get them a BB gun, start there, whatever, show them gun safety. Yeah. But the guns get put up, they get locked up, they're put out of children's reaches. Where now you have a fucking 6-year-old kid in Chicago goes in his mom's house, in her bedroom on her nightstand. She's asleep. This kid's getting up to go to school by himself. Picks up her gun, puts it in his backpack, goes to school and shoots a teacher in the face with it. They knew he was going to do it. Knew where the gun was because his mother didn't take care of it.
Yeah.
And she ought to be hung for that.
Yeah, that's sad.
It's the parenting. Half of these fucking people or half of these kids are raised in a one-parent family, mostly the mother, Okay, and you know, no disrespect to women or anything, but gee whiz, I mean, these people have to have, or kids have to have a father figure, a male influence. Okay, well, look at my dad. My parents were married for 53 years. My dad taught me the electrical trade. He taught me how to shoot guns. He taught me how to work on cars and trucks and all that shit. Okay. I didn't turn out to be no fucking criminal, you know?
Yeah.
See, I just turned 50. My dad did that stuff with me, and I'll tell you what, we've lost a generation of kids to that. It's never going to happen. They'll never see that. They'll never understand.
Not today's generation, no. They're lost. Completely lost. Hell, I went out there. My dad took me out there, and I shot my first 12-gauge high-powered pump shotgun when I was 10 years old. I still got the son of a bitch, and I'll be 60 in January. So, nice. You know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, if it ain't a single mother raising the kids, it's the grandparents that are stuck doing it, and they just can't do it because the kids they overrun them.
Yep, it's true.
Yeah.
How
do you reverse that, though? How do you reverse that? You know, there's no way to reverse that.
I don't think you can reverse it. I don't think you can reverse it because, you know, when I was growing up, when I was fucking 10, 11, 12 years old, I was in my daddy's back pocket on his jobs, on his electrical jobs. He's a master electrician too, or was a master electrician too. Okay, learning the things and teaching me things about things. I don't know if it's possible today with these fucking dumb fucks that don't even know what they got swinging between their legs.
Nope.
I know.
And
how can you get past?
They were getting into a fist fight, instead of having two kids go out and have an argument and fight, pick yourself up, dust each other off, and end up being friends. No, these little fuckers got guns to run around shooting each other with because their parents don't have the sense to take care of them because they don't even tell them to come home when the fucking street lights are coming on. They're out running the streets.
That's right. They're out running the streets. It's crazy. I've never seen a generation like this. This is really, you know, I guess we're all over. I come from the old school. I was born in '64. So, you know, but look at these people today, these kids today, and I'm going, you got to be kidding me. You can't be that fucking stupid. Guess what? They are.
Gunslinger. Imagine if your dad was around today. What he would think.
Oh my dad would lose his mind.
Shit, he'd fucking faint. Good God.
Right?
Fucking faint.
You know, and here's the thing I say to everybody, and they always give me a hard time because I go, listen, I go for a generation of people from the time, let's call it in the last 10 years, the last 10 years of people that have been able to have something they can hold in their hand and ask a question and get the answer to any fucking question that they want, 100%. You can even get a video of it, and you hold that device in your hand. You have got to be some of the dumbest son of a bitchin' motherfuckers that ever walked the earth. Because if I had that phone when I was in school, I would be Nikola Tesla. I'd be Nikola Tesla. I would have the death ray. I would have all that shit. But these fuckers don't even know what the Dewey Decimal System is. But they go to the library for free Wi-Fi, not to read books.
Yeah.
Look, I graduated high school in '83. Back when I was during going through high school, freshman up to senior, you know, I was one of the rednecks, I guess. We had guns in our trucks. I mean, every redneck up there, the parking lot. Okay, the police knew about it, the principal knew about it, the teacher knew about it, and no fucking problem. Shotguns and rifles.
No problem at all. I know every kid had a pickup truck has a gun rack in the window.
Yeah, gun rack. Yeah, well, I've got gun rack back of mine. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was like that. Yeah, you're right.
It wasn't a gun. There wasn't a rifle. It was a 4-foot level.
Yeah. Even the teachers would come out and say, "Hey, man, that's a damn good rifle. Can I take a look at it?" And everything. I mean, it was shit. You do that today, you'd have 10 goddamn SWAT teams down on your ass.
You're on the national news.
They'd be shooting. They'd break in your car and steal your fucking gun.
Yeah,
on the national news.
Yep. These crazy ass motherfuckers out there.
And you're on the national news, man. You're all done if you bring a gun to school. You can't even bring it. You can't even hide it in your car. You know?
Yeah, you can't do shit.
No, no.
That's the agenda, though. That's what they have to in order to try and take the guns from everybody. They're trying to make all the liberals that are on the fence with the Second Amendment. They want them to definitely say, "Fuck this. We are tired of these people killing each other," which they're not worried about people killing each other because the same sons of a bitches go and vote for the abortion shit. So they're not worried about killing each other. They're lying. They're hypocrites. But yet they want that vote to do that because that's how they're going to fucking invade this country is when they realize it.
When did this happen? When did they hijack that?
Now, wait a minute. You guys have got this all fucking wrong.
Uh-oh.
They want to take your guns because it is their duty to protect the working man. Now, to protect the working man means that you can't have a gun because when a crook comes in, you can't shoot that son of a bitch. It's to protect the crook.
Protect the crook.
I mean, OSHA regulations are tough on safety now. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right about that.
Joe, what the fuck has happened to our
sheriff? Just out to make a living stealing from you, and you turn around and shoot him. Jesus Christ, that's that can be a workplace workplace death.
Workman's comp. For stealing your converter from underneath your car, you can't do that. You gotta let that guy steal for a living. Joe, what's happened to the fucking sheriff's departments in this country?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I got one here that I got a question.
So heavily, we relied on the constitutional sheriffs, and they are so few and far between. And I just found out here in Akron, with this shit show we got going on up here, that the sheriff runs the jails. People don't realize that. The sheriff have control over the county jails. Now, when a municipality comes in, say the city of Akron, and they've got somebody under arrest and they want to process them, if a sheriff in Akron now goes to that jail, it's so overcrowded in our system here that the sheriffs there's a line of fucking cars to get in to process these guys. The sheriffs will go right to the front of the line. They will make everybody else, and there's probably 8 different small cities around Akron that use the same jail, and they'll tell them to fuck off, take them back. They won't even book them because the sheriff will bring their guys in. They will move to the front of the line. Now I swear to God to this, you've got the sheriffs getting out of their cars and arguing with the other municipalities in the parking lot to book the criminals in their car, and these guys are about to go hands-on into the concrete and fight or shoot each other over processing fucking criminals. I swear to God.
Damn.
You can't make this fucking shit up in Akron. This fucking place needs the bomb dropped on it.
Damn.
That is how fucked up this is now. And it all become... And I asked this girl I know, her husband's a sheriff that works in the jail. I go, what the fuck is going on? She goes, it's all because where they get their paychecks from.
Hey, I posted it in the chat room. I'm posting it in the chat room. Right, that was a lawsuit I filed a few years ago from when they kidnapped me and handcuffed me and beat the hell out of me for 18 days in the jail, in the sheriff's jail here. I sued all the judges, all the sheriffs, everybody. If you read that case and look, and if anybody reads it, it's not that long of a read, but you'll see how they fucked me. I got no standing. I had no standing to be in court. I mean, it was crazy, man. I just posted a link in the chat room. That Chris Freeman's a Superior Court judge in my county. But yeah, man, it's crazy, man. That's how they screw me. But I did all that legal work myself. I filed all that myself, all the memorandums and everything, and they just wouldn't hear it. Preliminary injunction, the restraining order, and they just shot me down. How do you win? How do you win? You can't win. You
cannot do it. The only way is to drag them out by their hair and hold them accountable for what they're doing. That's the only way this is going to change that. Because they have a strangled period.
Gotta have numbers. Can't do it by myself.
That's why I say, Joe, the military is going to have to actually, if we had a military that could step in and say, hey, you guys are running your law system like a bunch of fucking degenerates. What we're going to do is we're going to step in here, we're going to remove you bums, and then we'll run military tribunals where you get the sentence for your crime. It's sun up. And by sundown, you've got your sentencing, whether you're acquitted or you're guilty. But you're going to get your shit handled. It takes 16 years from now and sit on death row and let people pay $70,000 a year for you to fucking what do you call a cot and 3 hots and a cot for fucking the rest of your life. It's bullshit.
Well, I didn't get no cot, and I didn't get 3 hots. I got a pair of handcuffs and a grate to the floor, butt naked, on concrete, and a boot to the head. And I'm a big guy, man. I mean, I got, like I said, they got me good, man. I thought at least I could get a good fight in, and I still could. I mean, I got a couple of them, but man, they bum rushed me. They did it quick. I mean, they slammed me to the ground. I was off my feet. I mean, I just couldn't believe it how they got me that fast, man. And I could fight, I was trained, by good people, and they still got me, But there was 18 of them. There was 18 of them, so there's no way I can get 18 of them,
Well, fuck no. Let you tell them like I do. I say, you guys want to figure it out. Big ones line up and little ones pair up. Come at 1 or 2 at a time, motherfucker. We'll do it that way. Not all 18 of you will bull in the ring and shit.
And it was a closed-in area, too. I had no way to move. There was no maneuverability. I couldn't move around, So it was like, when they got me. So it was all done, but...
What happened to the fucking speedy trial? Your rights to that, where these people are sitting political prisoners.
I know.
They're political prisoners by a coup, which is Joe Biden, the Chinese mafia boss. Fucker.
And they're so dirty too, and listen, I helped some of these guys with drug busts and everything, and they still fucking treated me like shit. There's no loyalty. They're scumbags, I mean, it's like, damn.
You gotta be one of them, just like the fucking ones we're talking about to run this shit show world, the new world. If you're not,
they turn on you, Dave. There's no loyalty, even amongst them, really. They'll sell each other. I mean, they sell each other out. It's crazy,
Yep. Over $1 bill.
It's just, that's what it is, right there. That's what the loyalty is to, the dollar bill. I asked a guy from Wisconsin from the Republic actually, and I said, what? I said, you talked to all the sheriffs out there. I said, what do you think the problem is? Why won't they come together and restore the Republic? He goes, it's all about the dollar. That's what he said. The dollar, and that's a shame.
If they want to make a statement or they want to raise hell or they want to oppose something, the way it is now, you become anti-Semitic no matter what you say. If you're white, you're already racist. And then if you oppose a law or something against somebody or you want to change something, you're deemed fucking stupid, you're an asshole, whatever. And then they run that narrative, and there ain't nothing you can do about it. Not a fucking thing, because they have complete control of everything.
Well, we're still gonna, like I said, still gonna fight though. I'm never gonna give up fighting for the country or for my people or for freedom. I believe in fighting for freedom. I'll always try to be there, no matter what. To stand up for freedom. I mean, I'm against crime. I'm against people that do bad. I mean, I understand some people, they got to steal from the grocery store to feed their family. Okay, I'm not talking about that. But when these people out there that are raping little kids and raping little women and everything, I ain't going for that.
And you know what? A lot of people now are up in arms. I can't imagine what Washington's like with the people that I believe that Hamas in Israel was created by Israel. The Netanyahu.
Well, possibly, yeah.
Those guys are all behind inventing this fucking. And the CIA's involved in it as well. They got their hands in everything fucking around the world with that stuff. But I don't believe that when you have an area that's 20 miles long and it's the most overpopulated place on the planet. Now, you have to take that into consideration. 2 million people in a 20-mile radius. There's not a military installation above ground anywhere there. 50% of the people there are either women or children of the age of 15 and under. 50% of them. Now, why in the fuck are you bombing and committing murder on those people because you're trying to get a few rogue fucking assholes the Hamas that you created. No. See, what they're doing is they push these bastards in. They had a stand down. They had a legitimate stand down that's going to come full surface, and these assholes got their 7 hours in there, and they turned on that little festival they were having, supposedly started shooting everybody. Well, they don't tell you about the tanks that were rolled the fuck in there and taking pop shots by the Israeli fucking army. Now, that's some serious shit. But what you're talking about is people that are innocent under the laws of war, or you're just your basic. To me, when they say there's rules of war, I think, who's gonna? If I'm in fighting somebody, there is no fucking rules. I don't give a shit. Show me the rules of fighting, and I'll abide by them. To me, I fight to win, and when I win, I take the spoils of war. The United States has never fucking done that.
Well,
it's sickening.
What do you mean? Now, what do you mean spoils of war? What are you gonna do? Burn down the city and?
We run through Iraq because we have weapons of mass destruction, whatever. So we conquer Iraq, but what we do is we actually just tear the whole fucking town up because they want to send this BlackRock over there or Vanguard and start this rebuilding because the president's family members have direct links to these companies that are going to go over there and rebuild these cities, just like they're doing in Ukraine, just like they're going to do in Israel, because they're leveling it to provide themselves more money. They kill innocent people. They want the Palestinians dead. They say, oh, it's the Hamas. Then why are you fucking dropping bombs on buildings that are high-rise buildings, not a military target, killing innocent children and people, women, even men? I don't care. If you're not in the military and you're not involved in the war, what the fuck? Where's the
Well, we'll have to save that. We'll have to save that for another night, guys. We gotta get ready to wrap it up here. So, but hey, guys, appreciate you guys calling in and participating tonight. I really do. Each and every one of you, and be safe out there. And hey, tune into the next podcast. And I'll catch you guys on another podcast probably tomorrow night. All right.
What last night was your thing?
Cut me off. I don't know. I don't see the on-off. So I don't my screen going blank here. It's flashing. It's blinking. I don't know what's going on.
Nothing. It was doing nothing. That lady would talk to me and then it would hang up on me. Must be over.
You got ganged up on.
Oh. Hell, I tried to call last night, and it just kept, the lady would say, welcome to Blog Talk, and then it would wait, it would get quiet, and then call ended. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah. They was all fucked up last night. Well, actually, for the past 2 or 3 days.